welcome to episode 109 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our third batch of games from issue 44 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were bored on the Battle Island, blown by Bubble Ghost, and puked our ring up at Peter Beardsley's International Football. This week, we conclude our look at the games in December 1988, along with what was also lighting up our cinema screens that month. Graham, if we're not too full, tell us what final delights 1988 has to offer up.
In this dodgy old leftover box of cheap party poppers turned unpredictably loud stun grenades of an episode, we zoom around a shop-filled landscape, crashing into things in our tiny car, not in first or second, but fifth gear. We stage a bet that we can hoy around the world and balance Japanese acrobats in the gamble fueled Around the World in 80 Days, and jump around a dystopian world knocking people out with our pungent toe jam in Joe Blade 2. Is it just me that thinks a fortune-telling transparent plastic fish shape is a weird thing to put in a Christmas cracker? Who knows? After all that, we slap on some self-tan, bleach our hair pure white, and run around in tight quarters juggling hand axes in the somewhat mixed-up Savage. Explore the run or jump, not both, Playmobil-looking logic of the oddly named Super Dragon Slayer, fidget, twitch, shuffle, stagger and roll, but not run, through the crappy races of Nato Assault Course, before finally popping on our stripy skate jumper and scooting down an endless grey tunnel of doom in the budget-friendly Cheapskate. Finally, 1988 comes to a close. 300-plus games have been played. Many of those were about as much fun as a dry-heaving dog on a new cream-coloured carpet. Yikes. I am quite full.
I'm too full for that lot. Take that lot away.
I can't squeeze any more of that in.
10 schnitzel grooves is my limit.
You're not kidding. I've been schnitzen grubered out. That's it.
Yeah, this. We thought we may end on a high. You know, like a ski jump. Unfortunately,
but we ended up getting kicked in the Schwanstucker, I think.
Yeah, we certainly have. Not to give anything away with the games we've got lined up today.
Well, this classic compilation.
It's
worthy of a now compilation.
It's worthy of something. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. This is the last lot of games for 1988.
It is.
The last lot. If you've enjoyed it, I'm going to put it right up here at the front so you can hear it. You can, if you want to get in on the action, then you can do, because we're recording best, what is it? The Bread Bin Awards very soon.
Bread Bin Awards, yeah.
Although we probably actually, by the time you hear this, it'll be too late. Sorry. We'll have already recorded it. But anyway, if you still want to come and get in on next year's action, you can do. And you can do that if you join our Patreon at patreon.com/zapped to the past, where you get the episodes early and all that kind of stuff. You get them without adverts. You get to join in our Discord and ask questions for us, the podcasts, and all those kind of things.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. So there's lots of fun stuff. Obviously, or you can go to ko-fi.com/zapped to the past and buy us a coffee if you want, which one kind person did this week. Quite nice.
I like a good Ko-fi.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for that. I should have checked your name out. I'll check your name out and I'll say it at the back at the end of the episode because I've completely forgotten. It's been a busy week. I'm into marking at work, so I've been looking at stuff going, yeah. And then I've had to play these games, so it is what it is. It is what it is. How's your week been? It's been all right?
Incredibly busy, actually. Crazy busy with stuff all over lots of moving parts. Lots of crazy stuff. Just busy, busy. It's a busy time of year for everybody, I think. So, there's that, yeah.
Yeah, there is that. Right, I'm going to try and find out who bought us one. Someone did.
Who bought us the coffee? Come on, find out immediately.
I know.
Come on, Flynn.
This is terrible, isn't it? I should have looked. Maybe we shouldn't have even mentioned it. But,
Flynn.
It was nice to get something on it.
If his name's Flynn, I should be very happy.
It wasn't Ed. It wasn't. It was Ed. Ed bought us a coffee.
Thank you, Ed.
He said he found the Shaking Stevens bit in our previous episode with Gary very funny. So,
well, I like to think that we rib Shaking Stevens quite a lot, but he has contributed a great deal to something or other.
To jumpers. The size of that jumper was mammoth.
That jumper was massive.
It's far too big. It's so big.
Far too big.
So
the ever-expanding jumpers of Shaking Stevens.
It's like, I'm sure that's a sequel to something. Or somebody's probably tried to make it into a C64 game.
It's a Harry Potter novel that never made it, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Harry Potter and the ever-expanding jumper. It's have the same ring. And Shaking Stevens as Harry Potter is a gross and terrifying thing.
Yeah. Expelliarmus.
The worst Voldemort ever.
All right. Anyway, enough of that. Thank you, Ed. That's good. Shall we get on to some games? We've got 7 more. We've got Cinema. It's the last lot of the 1988, 1989. Sorry, cannot come soon enough. But let's get into the first lot of games. And our first one is a budget title. It is Fifth Gear. Fifth Gear. It's got 78%. It is from the Fantastic Four, supposedly. And this is Fifth Gear. It's another budget release from Hewson's Racket label. Racket.
Exciting stuff.
Who are the Fantastic Four? I hear you ask. It's not Johnny Flame, Mr. Fantastic.
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards, Sue Richards, and Ben Grimm. It's not them. What's his name? No, what is his name? Johnny Flame? It's not Johnny Flame, is it?
His name's Johnny Flame.
It can't be. That's too much of a coincidence. I mean,
was Benjamin Fuego.
We changed it to Johnny Flame because it sounded better. Fuego on! Just don't work.
Well, that's what you must say in Spain or in Mexico or whatever.
I guess, yeah. Explosianis. Anyway, it's not them lot. Here it's Huron Leighton, I don't know how to pronounce that, on code, and graphics, and he was helped on graphics by Marco Schieppers, music by Theo and Rainier Hongens, and the title screen was by Stephen Robertson. That's Sir to you and I.
It is. By the way, his name was Jonathan Storm or Johnny Flame, but his character name is actually the Human Torch. So there you go, just so you know. So we're clear.
Called Johnny Flame.
Yes, he's Jonathan Johnny Storm is actually his name. So his name's John Storm.
Okay, John Storm.
But he shouts, when he shouts "Flame on," he turns into the Human Torch, not Johnny Flame. I don't know where Johnny Flame came from.
No, that's what I mean. Flame's not a common surname.
Yeah, no.
Reed Richards and Sue Richards and everything. That's normal.
Well, his parents were Franklin and Mary Storm.
So where did the flame come from?
I don't know where you've got that from because he says flame on, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but sure. I don't know. Johnny Flame. Johnny Storm. I don't remember
egos.
Johnny Storm.
Well, he's got an alter ego of Jonathan Lowell Spencer as well. I'd just move on if I were you. We're lost in Marvel territory, and these are dangerous and choppy waters at best for anybody.
Absolutely. We don't need to go down
Someone's
that road.
going to start shouting, I'm not on canon or something, and I'm going to have to run away screaming. So
True. Anyway, back to Fifth Gear. In Fifth Gear, you are participating in an illegal car race in which you are allowed every possible method to win. In order to do this, you must drive along the track until you see the rather small sign that says turn here. That sign is very small. If you ever got there, it's very tiny.
It's really tiny.
It's held by a mouse. Turn here! Turn around!
Over there, turn around!
Turn around! Dead end! It's a cul-de-sac. At which point you must about face, turn around, and drive back the way you came to reach the start line, which is now the finish line, I guess. Because it actually says start and finish on either side. In the time provided to you. That's what you must do in this game. You must do this for all 3 tracks to be crowned the champion of the world.
Well, you're going to be a champion of something.
Or something. Well, I don't know if it is champion of the world. It doesn't say.
It's not King of the Mountain, which was that other game, wasn't it? So
yeah, King of the Mountain. Absolutely.
Champion of the world.
You're going to be the Duke of the Caves. That's what you're going to be. I don't know, something or other. Or at least champion of the 3 tracks, whatever you're going to be. When the game first boots up, first impressions are quite positive. There's a real sense of demo code in this title screen, with many sprites for letters scrolling upwards. There's some nice multiplexing going on. Unless there were characters, I couldn't tell. They look like sprites to me. I'm guessing they're sprites. They look sprite.
That looks like a sprite, some kind of multiplex.
There's loads of them, and there's tons of it going on.
Oh, they're everywhere.
There's so many sprites on the screen. It's crazy. Anyway, it looks cool, though, and it is accompanied by a decent tune as well, and some nice raster bar high-score title effects as well. It all looks good, and I'm guessing there is probably some demo heritage in this team. But upon looking for them, I could only find one demo from them. That's on CSDB. Maybe they did more. But I only could find one of the Fantastic Four. And then it was just something which had just put a load of Ben Dagley's tunes together on something.
Oh, okay, weird.
Yeah, that's all I could find from the Fantastic Four. Maybe they did other stuff. I don't know. There is definitely some demo code there going on. But this is their second game, according to Lemon 64. Their first being Breaker, which was a Breakout clone released in 1987, which obviously Zapped never picked up because it passed us by, so maybe want to revisit at some point. Anyway, once you've done admiring the title screen, you can press fire to get into the game, and it's almost immediately apparent where the main issue with this game lies. But we'll come to that in a bit. Where would that be?
Okay.
We'll come to that in a bit. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Save that guy for later.
Yeah, as my mum always said, don't show it all up front.
I'm stopping that conversation there. That's it. End of line.
The screen is split almost 50-50, with the top half being the game window, which shows the top-down view of your car and the start and finish line. The bottom half has all the UI. This includes a fuel bar, a damage bar, the number of lives left, your present weapon, the time left until the stage is over, your score, and the amount of money you have left. Controls are simple enough, with up to accelerate, left and right to steer, down for brake and reverse, fire button to fire which weapon you have selected, and spacebar to switch between your weapons if you get other ones to use. The track is made up of various obstacles and hazards, some of which you can play through, like bushes and trees, but you take damage from them. So you can plow through them, but you take damage from them, and if your damage meter hits 0, you lose one of your 5 lives. Or there's more damaging perils which kill you instantly, such as walls, other traffic, trains, and rivers. Okay, you hit any of them, you immediately lose one of your 5 lives. There are also slopes and ramps from which you can jump over obstacles if you have enough speed. When you plow up them, you do a big jump. That's quite cool. Along the way, there are garages which you can stop at. And I think this is done quite well, actually. You just park up in the tyre tracks outside, press the fire button, and this opens up like a small sub window. There's a nice tune playing, and depending on which one you stopped at, you can refuel or repair your car. You can even buy upgrades. Weapon shops sell missiles, missile launchers, and auto fire, whilst at the extra shop, you can buy a turbo boost, helium tires, which allow you to jump further, and obviously if you breathe them in, give you a funny high-pitched voice. Watertight chassis, which allows you to drive through water, very handy, and propulsive side motor, which allows you to steer whilst jumping. Some of these are quite interesting. I like these power-ups. They're all right. You start the game with $10,000, and extra money and points can be obtained by destroying other cars and various obstacles along the way. The graphics are in our favourite res. They are medium. But the direct angle of looking down, so it's vertical, you're looking straight down, it's quite well done with some nice shading on the various objects. It reminded me of that, it's BMX simulator territory, really, isn't it? It's that kind of shady sort of looking down territory, and its use of colours and shadings, lots of brown and blacks and sort of lighter browns and that kind of stuff.
There always is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're dirt racing, so I can forgive it. But there's plenty of other colours, green for the trees and stuff, so it's all right. For $2.99, there's a decent amount of game here, and there are some nice touches along the way with the shops and so on. And the presentation throughout is, pretty excellent. It's really good. So what's the issue that I mentioned earlier? Well, it's where you're placed on the screen, and that's the big issue here. The game window takes up the top half, and your position is just about halfway in this window. So you've only got about a quarter of the screen above you to show you what is coming. And that leads to the main issue here, in that you simply do not have enough view to see what is coming up. And there's what could have been a decent game of steering through the world and careening around the course, because, the left and right and going fast, it feels it's responsive and everything like that. It's just, it becomes a stop-start trudge, because you dare not go too fast, as you don't have enough time to react when a wall suddenly appears in front of you. So you just careen into it. And that's the problem with this. It's a game which wants you to go fast, and it's career. You should be throwing this little car around, but you can't, because you can't see what's coming up fast enough, and that's a real problem. This leads to you having to rote learn the course bit by bit, and that soon becomes really boring and not much fun at all. There's other bits where you got to slow down and go back over bridges and round and down and up and down, but because of the nature of the way this is displayed, it just becomes, there's not enough screen real estate to display what we want to see. This is a real shame, as there are some very nice elements to this. The controls, like I said, are decent. The visuals are good as well. The music's nice, the little interstitial bits, the garages, all that kind of stuff. For a budget game, it's another well-presented title, and there's a lot here. It's just the inability to see the track robs the game of all its appeal. At least that's what I found. They pulled the car down to the bottom of the window, or even pull the window. We don't need all that UI at the bottom. There's too much UI. Bigger screen, put the car near the bottom. The bottom is where you want to see stuff. Okay, I understand they've put it in the middle because obviously you can scroll up and down. They want to show both ways. Well, in which case, then give us more window. But I'd rather be slowly going downwards than having to slowly go up both ways. That don't work. It would have improved things no end. Like I said, I like the upgrades. I like having to speed up the jumps and jumps over some of the waters and stuff, and the handling. I kind of felt like it's felt a bit like an early sort of Micro Machines in that respect. There's a bit of Micro Machines to this.
Yeah, I can see that.
But just having no time to react and having to just learn the courses, it just turned me away from this. It just, I steered away. I just like, nah, I can't do it. It's a shame. Such a simple change could have really made an impact here to the way it played and made it a lot more enjoyable. And I think I would have got on with it a lot better. But as it was, I just found it got just a bit boring. I didn't enjoy the moment to moment, because they robbed the moment to moment of any kinetic fun that it could have had. and that's a bit of a shame. But still, what did it get? 70%, 78, maybe a bit too high for £3 because of that problem, I think. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, same. Lots of demo style polish and code, wasn't there, in this? It was odd. It felt a bit oddly out of place. I mean, all those sprites and bouncing about and all the things flying around. It was like, wow, okay, good that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even the title screen and the loading screen, it wasn't bad. In fact, the front end, as much as it was very OTT for this kind of thing, and really didn't feel like it was a car game as such. But anyway, it is what it was. Music was a bit squeaky, but it wasn't terrible. But it's just that view. I mean, for me, it was just, and there's a bit of a theme here for this week, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bit too, the view was too restricted by the exact thing you've described. I don't need to go over and describe it all again because you've described it absolutely perfectly. You don't get enough time to react to anything. I was just driving into lots of things, like driving to a wall, bam. All right, won't do that again. Move it to the right, driving to a pond, bam, bloop. I'm like, oh. And it meant you just crash, you zoom, crash. They just didn't need as much of that with this.
Yeah.
And what you could have had was like a nice multi-directional spy hunter type idea, couldn't you? It would have been quite nice, something like that. But and the graphics, like you say, all quite nice. Everything is here. It's just ruined by a really oversized UI in a game like this. Not the only one that's got a weird UI in this episode, but a weird UI. And that limited view means you're just dying a lot, which is such a shame because I thought there was something in this. I thought when I first stopped at the first little building, and you get quite nice. There's lots of little hidden demo effects in here. So you're getting FLD. I think they're in the top borders as well. So they're not utilizing the space they've got. They've confined it to kind of a small window. But yeah, that's the problem with it. It's just a bit too confined. And so either go, further out and make it really small, like that micro game you saw. It was like racing around in a toe, like a toe with a toenail on it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or make it the screen, big zoom out and have a bigger screen to play in. But you can't have this view. It just does not work. Shame. And 78%, a little bit high for something that's got such a fundamental game design flaw. But I could sort of see, I think it would be 78 to 80% if it didn't have that problem, because the budget price is pretty good. But it did have that problem, didn't it?
It did. So, you can't get away from it.
No.
It's just there. It's there staring you right in the face as soon as you start.
I barely made it into second gear, I think, when I probably hit something in that. So.
Yeah. And when you have to sort of go up that bridge on the right and then down the one in the middle and up the one on the left, it's like,
no.
It should feel like should be able to do that at full speed, just hanging the back end out and skidding round and, when I get really good at it, but it just didn't feel like it was, it wasn't quite there, was it?
No,
like we said, that Grand Prix simulator. This about that Grand Prix simulator, small car twiddling around and swinging around. Yeah, I
might have been a bit better.
Yeah, but as it is, not quite right. It is a shame, but still not terrible. Not great.
No.
There we go. That's our first one. That's fifth gear. Let's see if things continue in, a vaguely okay sense. I'm sure they will. They normally do with our second game. Let's see if this one breaks the mold. And Graham, it's your turn to go on a trip. Take us around the world in 80 days.
Fog, I'm the one who made the bet. No, and so this is from Rainbow Arts, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
It's got a lot of credits here. I mean, ultimately, the big credit here is Jules Verne. I mean, he wrote Around the World in 80 Days.
He did.
Or wrote the novel. But this program is by Arne Nolte, Heiko Schroeder, and Armin Gesser. Armin Gesser, again, he's back. He's back in POG form. He's back. Giant Sisters. Mr. Giant Sisters, isn't it?
It is.
Sound is by George Brand. The concept is by Holger Flotman. Now, he did Jinx on the C64, the concept of Jinx. You remember that?
Which one was Jinx?
I can't remember what it was. We played it, I'm pretty sure we have. It was one of the early ones by these guys, I think. Anyway,
okay.
He did Jinx. But he also did a whole ton of stuff on 16-bit. He's perhaps really kind of more famous for the 16-bit. And that's sort of, I think, where this has come from. I think this has come 16-bit to 8-bit because there's I think there's a Amiga version that came out in 87, I think. But anyway, so collectively they're known as Fantastic Software.
Not Fantastic Four?
No, this is just Fantastic Software. When he shouted flame on, nothing happened. He's quite disappointed. So one of the guys is called Flopman. So perhaps he just shouted Flopman on. And everyone was like, that does not work.
Storm up. That's not good.
The artwork is Holger Flopman here, produced by Mark Alexander Ulrich and Arne Nolte. And the manual was written by Imke Seedorf and Arne Nolte. Now, just as if you're wondering, that name keeps cropping up and thinking, who is that? That's the guy that wrote Street Gang. In fact, this is some of the team that made Street Gang. And it shows.
That explains a lot.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Doesn't it just?
Actually, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yes. It's all coming back to me now. Anyway, slow loader, this, wasn't it? Or quite slow. Apparently, it was painfully slow according to the Zapped reviewers. They hated the slowness. In fact, they pretty much threw this in the bin going, you're too slow.
Yeah.
But it was slow. Quite a nice, well-drawn loading screen, though, of Phileas Fogg.
Yeah, did you like the angry mummy in the top left of it, though?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a nicely drawn and realised image. It reminded me of a Cinemaware style image, and there's little hints of borrowing of Cinemaware stuff in here, but it's quite a nice graphic. But it's borrowed straight from the Amiga, I think, which is basically that. So, the Round the World in 80 Days. Are you familiar with the story of Round the World in 80 Days? Do you
Some
need
guys
me to
got to go around the world
regale
in
you
80
with the tale of Phileas Fogg?
Yeah, well, some guy makes a bet and got to go around the world in 80 days.
Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, he makes a bet. Phileas Fogg and his sidekick, he makes a bet. He's in the
he's got to get back to some club or something.
Yeah, the Reform Club in London. And he makes it. He's a big talker, and he makes this bet. Bets all he owns 20,000 of something. Could be gold bars. It could be pence.
Chewits.
Could be Chewits. 20,000. That's everything he owns. 20,000.
20,000 Chewits to the man on the right.
And he says, I can get round the world in 80 days, and I bet you 20,000, whatever I've got, that I can. Of course, people in the Reform Club put out their cigars and their brandies and go, ho, ho, ho. No, you can't. You liar. Get out. And so he says, I can, and he does. He goes on a trip. So on the 2nd of October, Fogg and his butler, Passepartout, I think that's how you say it, or Passepartout,
yep,
start their journey towards Paris. The first stop of this journey is Paris. Now, this isn't a traditional game based around that as a concept of going around the world in any way you choose in 80 days. That isn't what happens here. It's a little bit weirder than that. So
I'll say.
So I'm going to explain how this game works in its own crazy logical way and how I played it. Now, I played all the way through this as well in a miracle, but I did.
Wow.
So,
well done, you.
So, but I won't bore you with, the full 80 days, but anyway. So, again, you get past the music, the loading screen, which, by the way, according to the Zapped team, was an entire load of one side of the tape. So just for one entire side, just load the intro. And all it really does is you get like a title screen and then a news clipping. Most of the news clipping images on this I find quite hard to read, and they're also in German.
Bilingual newspapers were all the rage back in 1889.
Weren't they just? Extra, read all about it, yeah. And say that in German, I'm not going to even try. Extra, there you go. It's all the same. Anyway, so the Reform Club bets on. Fogg's got to get around the world in 80 days, so off we goes. You get the intro sequence, bit of storytelling, nice bit of mood setting, which in this instance, it just scrolls over to the right. There's a house in shadow when the lights come on. That's it. That's your intro. So I think it's meant to be him leaving the Reform Club. It doesn't come across that way. And I've made me think back to that train game that we played, where it had that really nice intro where it was a silhouette and the guy was walking into the thing, the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's it called? The train game, whatever it's called. The one with the train in it.
Yes.
Reminded me of that.
By the way,
anyway,
it's extra, lassen Sie alles darüber.
No, thank you for that. Thank you.
According to Google, that is. If I've got that wrong, then blame Google.
Well, it's not known for its amazing translations, but we'll let it go. Okay, extra, Banston de Google, whatever it was. Schwanstuckers. So now it's a bit weird where you play out the travel in this game. I'm going to be honest. It's unique. I've never had to play bribe or cards to get across in a boat or a train. It's weird that you fuel your journey by either bribery or gambling. Just seems odd. Just pay for a ticket. Anyway, it's just pay for a ticket.
Have you tried paying for a ticket with Transpennine Express recently?
Well, and of course he's bet all of his money, so he's got no money, has he? So, or is he? You can't afford to lose it. I don't know. He shouldn't really bet, and then I don't know. Maybe he's very confident anyway. So the idea of this is that you're going to travel through a series of locations and complete a series of mini game challenges, I guess you'd call them. And in order to do that, you've got to navigate across the world. When I say navigate across the world, go to the places that the game takes you to, really, because you can't choose. And that means traveling by sea and by train. So when you're traveling once you get past all of that view, you get to the travel view is different from the game view and the characters in the game. So I'll quickly whiz through this. So your main window, when you get to it, there's a giant map of the world on the top left. Top right, you've got your little calendar piece with your date time, your timeline. Under that's your bag of monies because you've got 20,000 to spend. And then you've got these mysterious 4 icons. You've got bribe, cards, play, and zzz. Now, in order to get across from one place to the next in this game and get there in the because the idea of the game obviously is you've got to complete this in 80 days and you can't run out of money. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually balance out your journey time in this. Right, just 1 second. So the idea of this, so you've got to get across the map and you've got to do these locations. Now, you start off in a boat because you're sailing from Paris to, I think the first stop is India. So you're already in the boat and it's kind of chugging away, chug. And it's going to take time. And obviously the calendar's you're on a calendar, you've got 80 days. So in order to speed up your journey, you can bribe the captain of the ship, who has presumably put some more fuel in the ship.
The special fuel, the go faster fuel.
And then the steam comes out the little icon. You've got a little boat icon on the bottom left-hand corner. And then you'll go faster. And then your little white dot that's your mark on the map gets to the other point and you get to where you're going faster. But you're spending money. You're spending precious money. You can also gamble to win more money. So the idea is that you either you spend money or you accumulate money in order to try and facilitate these journeys. It seems really stupid to do it this way. Yep. It adds no excitement or no fun to it. It just means traveling from A to B is a stupid, pointless, boring exercise of waiting for the dot to get to its next place, which, by the way, aren't indicated on the map. So, your geography's got to be pretty good. And I'm pretty sure I sailed across mainland Africa at one point. So I'm not sure what kind of boats we're in here. And it didn't jump to a train icon. I was just in a boat. So I'm guessing I was on a land boat.
Rivers? Which
may be, but they're not on the map. Anyway, so the idea is you do, in between all of these levels, you have to basically do that to get from A to B. And it's controlled by these icons at the bottom. And the card games are a pretty crap affair as well. I won't go into the details. You just have to play cards and gamble for money. It's not very exciting. When you bribe, you just got to use the joystick to sort of go, bribe more. No, bribe less. Bribe more. No, bribe less. It's really weird. It's just like some kind of control system of speed versus cash. It's really odd. Anyway, that's how you control getting from A to B in the game. Now, once you do that, and after a bit more loading and some more newspaper clips, you get the first game which starts off in India. Now, the game parts generally follow the same sort of format for all of the various exercises. You will be either Fog or you'll be his sidekick. You won't really know which.
I couldn't tell. My Fog or Pasta 2. Who knows?
So you'll be one of those two. And in the first level, you've just got to run to the right, pitfall style, jumping over pits and avoiding endless attacks from birds and cavemen that throw spears at you. Now, I'm not sure that I like the tonality of where they're heading with this in the terms of portraying the world nations and the cultures as kind of tribe folk, and this gets pretty bad for it in this game. But so you run to the right, jump over pits, throw spears at the natives, dodge the birds, and keep doing that until you fight a lion or a tiger or a cat, whatever it was. When you do that, you do more loading happens, and then a second level comes in where you're into some kind of tombs. Now it's a little bit more mazy in this that you've got to jump up and down different areas, but the principle is the same deal. Run to the right, etc. You need to get past the various baddies, of which there's varying different types and different descriptions. You're still armed with your spear at this point, I think. And if you fall in the pit or anything like that, you go back to the beginning of the level, which is really annoying. Yep. You've got a time limit on this, so you've got to do everything but in the certain time limit, or that's it, the end of the game. And you've got a certain amount of health as well. And if you don't do it in the health, if you lose all your health, it's back to the beginning again, back to the literally the beginning of the game, or at least the beginning of that bit. Now you can, when you do that, you don't have to go for all the intro sequence again. You can just go straight to India and start from India again. So you can start from that bit, but you can't progress until you do it. So you've got to keep going and going and going. Eventually you'll fight the lion and get past the end of level boss, such as there is. They get weird in this game, the bosses, and you'll be on to the next bit. Now the graphics in this they're not terrible. They're not what you call amazing. It's just, there's tree shapes that look treey. There's kind of mountains in the background. Your sprite is not very well animated, but it kind of looks like a man with blue jeans on and a sort of. It looks a bit like the guy out of Die Hard. Actually.
It looks like the guy out of Street Gang, but with a different coloured bottom sprite.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but yes, he does. The UI for this, by the way, is a very simple affair. At the bottom, you've got time indication. Then you've got a bag of money with the money indication on it. It's always in a bag of cash. You've got your bag of cash, your sports bag of cash. And then you've got your health on the right, which starts at 600 and works its way down. Everything that touches you takes health away, everything.
And it also accompanied with that little noise as well.
Yes, you get an annoying noise. And the graphics, like I said, not great. Controls, joystick control. So you can imagine what the joystick controls are. Run and jump. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not very fast. It's not very fun. And it's a bit dull, actually. It's a bit boring anyway. If you get past that, believe it or not, back to the map you go. Bribe your boat guy. Can I go over to Japan, please? Yeah, okay. How much money have you got? Okay, well, we'll go the quick way then, since you've bribed me to do so. All right. The Japan minigame is really odd. There's no way around, no other way to describe it. It's really weird. So you have to catch acrobats and try and form a human pyramid. Now, I don't know much about Phileas Fogg or the stories of Jules Verne, but I am pretty sure that didn't happen in the book. Could be wrong.
Might have done.
Pretty sure. Just doesn't sound like the kind of thing Willie Fogg, Phileas Fogg would have gone into anyway. So in that level, it's similar graphics to the previous one, only that you start off with somebody running at you from the right-hand side, and you're actually in the middle, and they bounce off like a trampoline, and then you've got to catch them on your shoulder, and then somebody else runs from the left. Then they run along, and they bounce off them, and then you've got to catch them on the other shoulder, and eventually you form a human pyramid of 5 people where you're sort of wobbling left and right, and they're all like, It's actually, for some reason, I can't explain, quite entertaining with suitably oriental music playing throughout. It's just a really weird premise because the main control for you of this is catching people on your shoulders and then controlling the wobble. Anyway, when you've controlled the wobble for long enough, you then go to the next map and bribe the official if you're a bit more cash, or go out for a gamble, whatever you want to do, and you'll end up in the USA. This starts to get a bit weird here. So when you get to the USA, it's actually split into some sections. The first section is you're in the woods again. This time, just running and jumping over wolves. Usual rules apply. If you get past that, you get to the Native American section. Now, I've called it the Native American section. That isn't what the game calls it.
Okay.
Because I found this whole section is troubled, to say the least. So, in this section, the Native Americans are portrayed as bang-drumming natives in front of a teepee with feathers in their hair.
Oh, dear.
And you have to do the dance of the savages and match the dance in order to appease them so you don't get put in a giant pot.
Okay,
yeah. None of that stuff ever happened in Phileas Fogg, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't just, anyway. You use the joystick to try and match the dance moves, essentially. So it's one of those, though, like that breakout game we saw, break dance game we saw years ago, that kind of thing. But you can't really identify what the dance moves are. John Travolta, they ain't, let me tell you. And the music's just kind of, as you'd expect it to be, kind of, drums. Yeah. So it's just, anyway, it's sort of rhythmic dancing. And actually, it looks more like you're just making him jerk spasmodically. It's like it's not a pleasant thing to do. It looks like you're making him have some kind of attack. Anyway, once you get past that, then suddenly, and it's a really, really rapid change, you're suddenly piloting a wind sledge to escape. A wind sledge. It's a boat on skis.
Oh, right. Okay.
Through Canada. So why? I don't know. You just literally, you finish your native dance. You're like, thanks very much. And then within the next breath, you're suddenly flying across to the right on a level, scrolling quite fast in a wind sledge, which is a ski boat.
That is in the book. I'm looking at the plot now.
Good. So anyway, then you've got to basically just fly through the level, avoiding the ditches and don't tip on any of the little hills. So that's it. So it's another scroll to the right type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Same sort of graphics, same sort of thing, but you're in a ski boat or ski boat. Anyway, you do that and you finally return to England. And this is where it made me laugh out loud, by the way, only to be confused with a bank robber for some reason when you get back.
Yeah, that's in the book.
And put in the dungeons of London. But you've got to make good your escape by navigating a dungeon maze. It's like a bit of a sort of a shit Prince of Persia at this point. It is. It's kind of a disappointing Prince of Persia. So the graphics are slightly better, I have to say, in this bit. It actually suits this kind of dungeon-esque sort of colour scheme. You can imagine the speckling on the grey shading and that. It actually looks okay. And the enemies here are really difficult as well. They've upped the challenge. So you get skeletons that throw their heads at you. You got all sorts of weird stuff. You, for some reason, I can't explain, and I don't think there's anyone ever going to be able to. In this section, you throw paving slabs. So
why?
That's what, I don't know. That's what you do. You throw paving slabs. So you do. So you throw paving slabs. I thought they looked like giant baguettes, but paving slabs apparently is what they are. You'll do that until you encounter the giant jackal, who stands and tries to wee on you. But you can defeat him by throwing, well, I hope it's wee, because he just stands there and white fluid spurts out of his trouser area all over you, and then you have to hit him. You have to hit him with a paving slab. We've all been there.
Yeah, true. More than
We've all
once.
been there. Anyway, and then so you make good your escape and you win the bet, and then for the end piece, you get a crappy newspaper cut out saying you did it, and that's it. End of line.
Did you feel it was worth your time?
No, not really. I get the notion, a series of levels inspired by the Jules Verne story, but there's little in the way of drive for this. It doesn't really feel like you're on this mission to get around the world in 80 days. It's more of a sort of endurance task of popping to Japan to catch some acrobats and then flying down the slopes some wintry slopes in Canada on a ski boat. I mean, maybe it's all in the book, but it's all a bit odd. Each level feels more or less the same. The graphics aren't terrible, but some of the later backgrounds look slightly better and the sprites get more passable. There's clearly a little bit more time spent towards the end of the game than at the beginning. The gameplay and design comes into effect, though, and the loading, and it all starts to just be a bit naff. There's loads of similarities drawn between Street Gang and these levels, without a doubt. You know, it's like if they had people running in from left and right, you were throwing... What was he throwing that game? Did he...
No,
he had spray, didn't he?
Don't you?
Punch them or spray them. You would be that. It's kind of a run and jump maze type affair, really, on the main, with a couple of really odd things thrown in, like the giant weeing jackal person. What's all this got to do with Phileas Fogg and Co? I'm guessing parts of it are from the novel. It's not a book I've read for a very long time. The travel sections and how you retain and acquire money, well, that's where this game sort of is just too weird to be true. I don't know what genius thought of the idea of that, because you've got to keep the income coming in to sustain your trip. So I found the gamble and bribe logic doesn't really work, because surely the whole notion of Phileas Fogg is that he was this, you know, charismatic, heroic character that was going to complete this mission. He didn't lie and cheat and swindle his way around all the way around, did he, in 80 days? I'm guessing he didn't just bribe his way around. Would have been quicker if he did.
Probably.
Anyway, so it just seems counter to the hero sort of on a journey narrative that this game sort of tries to portray. Mm-hmm. The USA levels have that troubling representation of Native Americans, which may be of its time, but is troubling nonetheless. Now, the question I have after all of that is, did this game deserve the pummeling that it got from Zapped? It only scored a measly 29%, something like that, 29%. It got absolutely pummeled by Zapped in their review, saying it was slow, it was rubbish. They didn't like it. No. And I don't think it's, and I have to say, now it ain't perfect and it is a bit weird and the controls in the game are okay, but that weird sailing bribery thing is a bit odd. But it's not that bad. It was a bit slow maybe in some of the sections, but some of them are quite fast. The acrobat thing was quite interesting and different. I don't think Zapped got very far into the game. I think they maybe got to the first bit and just gave up. Because if you get sort of a bit more into it, it is thematically all over the place and parts of it too hard. But I don't know, maybe I thought it was more of a 50 to 60% type thing. It's not great or anything, but it didn't deserve 30% or 29%. But it didn't have a proper ending either. It was kind of naff that. So it needed a better loader, a lot more thought about how you got from A to B. But I don't know. The catch and acrobat thing for me just kept me entertained for ages for some reason. I don't know why. I just thought it really struck me as an odd thing to have in a game like this. But there you go. Did you enjoy any of your trip in 80 days?
No, the only bit I didn't particularly like this. I don't know. I quite like the opening cinematic. It was all right. You know, the scroll along London's thingy at night and the thingy, getting the guy walking out the wrong way and then go the other way. It's like, you know, ha ha ha, it's funny, isn't it? Whatever. But then I'm on a boat and then I'm playing Play Your Cards Right, which is kind of weird. I was expecting Bruce Forsyth to appear. I was like, this is kind of strange. But you know what? you know me and you know what a fan I am of Play Your Cards Right.
Yes,
so whereas you like the catching acrobats, I like to Play Your Cards Right section, and I played quite a lot of that because I like Play Your Cards Right. I can imagine you did. Because it's Play Your Cards. I was like, all right, it's all right. And then it all went downhill when I got to India, and I was running around in some stupid thing, lobbing spears at people. I was like, hang on a minute, I don't remember this in the book. I don't remember this. And that was the point. Like you said, I was like, am I lobbing spears at, you know, some representation of the native people of India here because they're running around and thingy, and oh, hang on, no, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So I got through that first level. I thought I passed through, and then I got to that second level and trying to climb ladders and stuff and just getting hit and more thing. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like what it's doing. I think didn't like the controls. I didn't like lobbing spears. I didn't get it. I just didn't understand it. And it may have opened up a bit as you got further on, but I think it creates such a bad first series of impressions. Once you're into the game itself, I was just like, I'm done. So maybe I should have carried on. I didn't, though. I was like, nah. Like the painful multi-load, it was just really slow. It was completely out of place. I just didn't like it. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I can see why you got some more out of it if you played all the way through and it gets better as it goes along.
I don't know that it gets better. I was just thinking what quirky strangeness this is. But it was. Yeah. I don't think it's not good. It's just I don't think it's as bad as 29%. Is my take.
I've said it's a weird release. And it
is weird,
and it does have, like you said, I think it has pretensions to cinemaware stuff, and I think there definitely is that. And to be fair, I think that essentially, it's that monkey's paw curled up because isn't this kind of what we said we wanted for Sinbad?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
a more linear take on the story that kept going and has a more linear thing. But it's like, well, you want that, do you? Well, here you go, and you're like, oh, not like that. Damn you, monkey.
Catching acrobats in Japan wasn't what I had in mind, but okay.
Yeah, and terrible sort of stereotypical, horrible racist, racial
like
stereotype and stuff. It's like, okay, and I get it's part of the book, but then you have to, and I get it's the 80s, I understand, and things are different and stuff like that, but you look at it now and you're like, maybe the game just, is it just one of them, is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it shouldn't be done, and you can read it. Fine, it was written in 1800, whenever it was written, it's 1900, whatever. You can read it, but I don't know. I just think the game was a bit dubious and a bit.
No, I agree completely.
There you go.
But 29%, maybe a little harsh.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe because they just, we had the luckiness to be able to warp that loader.
Yeah, true, because it was slow even on warp, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there you go. There's Around the World in 80 Days. Interesting, but badly flawed, I think. Let's move along. We've got one game left this section. Maybe that will pick things up. Well, it's a sequel. It's a sequel list to a game we thought was okay. We didn't mind the original. It was a bit weird and a bit sort of quirky in its time. This is Joe Blade 2.
Ooh.
Again for £2, but unfortunately this only got 38%. It's 9% better than Around the World, but is it really? It's more budget shenanigans in the sequel to Joe Blade from players, aptly titled Joe Blade 2. Once more, this is from Kevin Parker. Visuals and title screen by Colin Swinburne and music by Mike Brown. Straight from the manual, the story is as follows. The year is 1995. The setting, London. The streets are crawling with punks, thugs and muggers. Why do I always get these? To read this nonsense out every bloody week. The ordinary urbanite masses remain prisoners in their crumbling homes, too terrified to venture outside into the crime-ridden inner city horrorscape beyond their front doors. Only one man can clean up this city. That man is Joe Blade. Joe Blade, teenage pin-up and pop idol, media celebrity, hero of the people, defender of the flag, helper to those less fortunate than himself, mean, tough and fearless. His very name strikes fear into the cold hearts of every punk, thug, and mugger. Your mission, Joe, using only your skills of hand-to-hand combat, you must clean up the city. The punks wear armor to protect themselves from each other. So in order to kill a punk, you must kick them in the head. This is achieved by jumping over them. Oh, God. You don't have to kill all the punks, though. Once you've killed about 100, how many? The remaining punks will get the message and repent of their evil deeds and become decent, law-abiding citizens. I'm just what's in this. I didn't write this. Not only must you kill your daily quota of punks, I love he's got a kill quota. He's got a quota to kill every day. Oh, I've got to get out. I've only killed 7 by quota.
Which means someone's got to check that quota. Now, they're looking at his chart. Now, see, on Thursday, you were 5% above quota, which is very good. But for the road of the week, you've been well under quota. So overall, you've got an averagely under quarter sort of period here. What's going on? Anything we can do to help?
Yeah, you've got to meet your quota, Joe. There's those punks that aren't going to kill themselves. They're all armoured up. Who has a kill quota? You must also rescue 16 citizens who have foolishly ventured onto the streets. To rescue a citizen, you must walk into him and then solve one of 4 sub-games. So awful when that happens. Quick, get in the house. Only if you can solve my game. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, that's straight out the manual, all that rubbish. Kill quotas. So, wander about the city, beat up thugs, protect the innocent, uphold the law. After the odd title screen, which looks like he's broken out of the club from Police Academy.
It does. It really does. And he's very pink, isn't he? He's been out in the sun a bit too long, that guy.
He's very pink and very burly. He's obviously been working out on what's the beach in Venice Beach.
He has.
He's been in the sun too long.
Pumping iron, that one. He has been pumping iron.
And then he's bought everything from wearesoviet.com.
He has. Well, he's wearing a chocolate donut on his head, which is odd.
It's just so burly, It's like he's auditioning.
Very burly. It's
like he's auditioning for Gears of War.
It's the guy who's sat in the window just looking out going, oh.
Yeah, that guy made me laugh loads. He's giving him proper side-eye. He's like, who's that? Better not go out there. He hasn't met his quota yet. He might just kill me.
He's just sat, because obviously he's broken out of some kind of jail, I think. But that's the guy sat in his front window going, no, why don't you just use the door?
Yeah, that's my house. That's going to cost me loads.
That's going to cost loads to repair.
And then there's a picture of just someone called Ward who looks like they've got brown horns.
He does, yeah. Oh, yes, he does.
Joe Blade. And then it's a really small 2. They've obviously drawn it first. Well, it's 2, you idiot.
They haven't. I thought that as soon as I saw it. I was like, the classic error.
Joe Blade to the power of 2. Anyway, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know why he's punched through a wall. We get a title screen, though, that's reminiscent of the first game. It's got some info, decent tune. There's a nice scrolling message. And to be fair, I did like the tagline for this. More muscle, more action. That made me laugh loads.
It's not the first time that's been used, but not for this kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's muscle deep.
Oh, God.
Nice. Oh, dear. Start with the fire button, seizes into the game. And immediately we're in quite familiar territory as we were in the first game. It's a flick screen game where you wander left and right, sometimes up and down through opening doors or openings below you on the pavement. Instead of you making our way through a military base as we did in that first game, here we're on the mean streets of London with punks, thugs and muggers. And we're now only armed with our feet, which are lethal at 6 feet in the air. I don't know how else to describe it. They're not lethal at any other point. 6 feet in the air, though, they become, like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Dangerous.
Yeah, it's just
heavy
nightmare.
feet. He's got very heavy soles on his shoes.
Yeah. And despite the fact that the cover and the title screen has Joe punching people or walls, at no time in this game do we get to use those fists. Just run around and jump. It's one of the most bizarrest mechanics I've played in a while.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah, we wander back and forth, and enemy thugs will wander into the screen as well. In order to kill them, we just jump up and kick them in the face, whereupon they will explode into a cloud of dust. Except I think you're kicking them in the face. I could be wrong. You just jump up, and if your foot hits their face, they die. There's no animation or sound or impact or anything. There's nothing.
Nope.
You're just part of your jump. So who knows? I don't know.
Smell my feet, innit, the whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh!
Stick.
Anyway, also wondering about our men in oversized blue coats. And these are the people you must rescue within the time limit. So every time you collide with one, you must rescue them by doing a strange mini game where you must get the numbers 1 to 4 in order by swapping them about until you do it. There are 4 variants of this. I'm not going to go into them all. It's easy enough to do. You just basically, 1 and 4 will be highlighted. If you press it, they'll swap. It's that kind of number. Then 2 and 3 might be highlighted. You press 2 and 4, you swap them. You press 5, they'll swapping around until you get them into 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the one, there's double, there's backs, there's kind of different ones, but they're not that hard. You'll do them pretty quickly. And you got the time limit as a minute as well. So this is one of those games where, it's easy enough to do. So if you manage to find all 16 of these guys and rescue them, then well done. You've completed the game. But you haven't met your kill quota, so I want to know what's going on there. We've got a kill quota to complete. As Joe wanders about, you might find some other items, such as keys or dustbins or clocks to lengthen the timer and so on, because you're on a timer to do all this. The game is presented with the top 2/3 showing the present screen that you're on, so that's where the game window is. The bottom third has the UI, which shows which minigame is up next. It's like 1, 2, 3, or 4, so you know which one you're going to get into. It's got your score and how many keys and bins you've collected. Why is it collecting
Always
bins?
useful thing to know. I don't know.
I don't
no
understand.
Idea. It's Bin Man.
I don't know what it is. I thought the graphics are actually pretty decent in this. They're all right. They've got a nice chunky look to everything. It feels like a more well-presented Death Wish 3, I thought. A slightly more cartoony version of that. It looks a bit like that. So I do like the way it looks. And I thought the music was okay too. The issue with this is obviously it's stupid, but they could have got around that stupidity. But it's it's the difficulty or lack thereof. I just wandered about on my first go for a few minutes and almost completed the game. I've nearly done it. Like, where's the game here? There's little in the way of challenge here or variety. And so where the first game offered plenty of that, this feels like they've sacrificed that for some better visuals. The jumping to kill the enemies mechanic is odd, and it doesn't feel satisfying either. So if this had been tightened up, if you punched them or you did something, I want a sense of impact. I want to see them flying back. One thing Death Wish 3 did do was its weapons and sense of impact. It shot people and went flying and stuff like that. That's the one thing I did like from that game. Distasteful it was, but it was what it was. Here, you just fly up and boot them and they turn into dust. Ridiculous. So they made the enemies a bit more of a menace or something. And they've been, just make the general interactions in the game more impactful. Like, it's just weird. It could have been okay. It just feels like it's not finished. I thought this didn't feel like it was properly finished. I thought it all works, but it doesn't feel like it's like, yeah, we've got that mechanic in where you jump in. Well, yeah, but we can't get the fighting in. Well, just have him kill him if his foot touches the face. Like, no, that don't work. That's stupid. I don't know. It seems like there was supposed to be more. It just never got added. It's an odd one, this, because it looks and sounds good. And for a budget game, for £2, this is all right. But the game part's been omitted. It's like there's just nothing to do. And what there is to do is very poor and very dull. It's not a good thing. it's a shame, once again. I think the coding chops are obviously there. I think, the guy who did this, obviously you can code quite well, and the front end's nice, and the messages and scrolling stuff and all kinds of stuff going on. It all looks nice, and everything fits the part. But there's no challenge. And the mechanic, the single mechanic that you have, jump and kick, just feels woolly and bad and unenjoyable. And that, therefore, if that's all you can do, the puzzles are not really they're not really invigorating. They don't make you go, oh, puzzle, figure this out. It's just like, oh, God, another one. Yeah, very dull, very boring. That's what I thought about this. Shame, really. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, same story. What happened with this? I thought the graphics were okay on the whole. Quite nice main sprites, nice style, that kind of high-res, medium-res kind of look. That backgrounds were less inspired, but, they kind of look like what they were, I guess. But it is like a slightly higher resolution Death Wish 3. But the UI was horrible, wasn't it? With icons and typefaces and bloody stuff all over the place. Yeah. It's all over the shop. The notion of jumping people to kill them like this is crap, though. That's not very good, is it? Felt really floaty when you jumped, if it even responded in time, and it had no impact whatsoever. So it's not like you landed on them and clomped on their heads, and they there was a big clang sound or something. No, they just float up and tap with the toe, and the smell of that person's toes. Horrid. Ew. I thought the music was a dreary stylophone-style dirge. That's never good. The mini-game was an exercising, annoying diversion. It's just really annoying. Just don't have that in there. No, don't. It's just stupid. The game is plain, dull, and boring, really, with no fun in it. And that seems really such a shame, because the first one wasn't like that. Just wandering around this sort of maze-like world, jumping slowly on people, over people, or periodically doing a weird, boring numbers game. Nah, not very good.
No,
even at £2. No thanks.
Yeah, 38% is about right, I think.
Yeah.
You got it bang on for that one. There we go. That's our first 3 games, and a weird and interesting bunch.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at them.
I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be nice. Anyway, we've got 4 more to come. But first of all, before we do that, we're going to go take a break. We'll be back. We've got some films to look at. There were plenty of films coming out in December 1988, so we're going to go do them. So please do stick around, and we'll be back in a moment with those. Prestinum on course. I'm almost there, ready to deliver David Hearn's books, including Back in Time for a Donut and The Case of the Notorious Roboticist, to a bookstore near you. Let's just bypass Tag and...
Oi! Where's that copy of Escape from the Commodore 64 you promised me? Dave's latest book.
Oh, not you again. I thought I lost you outside Gamma 5. Hey, did you just fire at my ship? Says I've got some conflict damage.
I'll give you conflict. Looks like your Nova Drive is shot. Literally. Tragic, that.
Computer says I'm on a collision course with Tag.
Options. You can crash into Tag, and it just so happens I'm also the mayor, so straight to prison for you. Or you can give over that last copy of Dave's latest book.
Yeah, in exchange for what?
Let me see. Aha! I've got a spare Nova Drive back here. How about that?
Okay. I can't do mercenary again. Deal. Dave's latest book, Escape from the Commodore 64, is all yours. There.
Oh, I love the cover. There's Paradroid, The Impossible Mission, and Law of the West. Get your own copy. You're not having mine at davidhearnwriter.com.
Can I ask a quick question, though? How would you keep me in a prison that only has lines for walls? And we are back. We are back to look at films that were released in December 1988. What could you have gone and watched at the cinema if you were living in the UK during this cold, wintry month? Well, you could have laughed yourself silly with the first one, 2nd of December, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Indeed, you could have laughed yourself to death, just like the thingy just squad doing there.
Yeah, the weasels, whatever they are. Were they weasels?
Are they weasels? Are they weasels? Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
If you want to try the ones,
yeah, when he's doing the dance, and this is a classic. This is very good. The 2nd of December, I don't know. I always had this down that it came out in the summer. Don't know why.
Yeah, but, same. I thought that. Well, for some reason, but yeah.
It felt like a summer film that I went to see this. Because I definitely went to see this at the cinema. This was a definite. This was like first week I was there.
Absolutely. First day.
Yeah.
Day one. I remember queuing up for it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was absolutely, my jaw was on the floor like a cartoon character for a lot of this.
And so it should be. It should be with Roger Rabbit. It might not necessarily now ring the bells in terms of visuals, although I still think it does. But there are some things in that film is such a work of incredible technical achievement and talent. It beggars belief. It absolutely beggars belief. There's things and techniques and methodologies used in that which set the benchmark for things. There's things in there that are invented for that. It's an absolute tour de force, that film.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. No, it was the most expensive film ever made at that time.
Was it?
It was, yeah. It was $70 million. It cost.
That came out higher than I meant it to. Was it?
Was it? Yeah. It was $70 million. It doesn't seem like a lot. That's about $150 million. It topped the previous record holder at the time, which was Rambo 3. So.
Oh, we only just talked about that as well, didn't we? Poor old Stallone.
Yeah, so...
yes, he thought he'd spent the most money. You can see why, though. I mean, every penny is up on the screen.
It really is, yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible, this film. I love it to this day. I watch it regularly. There's some amazing little factoids and things in that film. The fact that Christopher Lloyd's character barely blinks. I think he only blinks 3 times in the whole film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he wanted to be more scary, so they asked him if he would try not to blink. So his character just stares wildly all the time, which is kind of crazy.
He is quite creepy in that. I love the baby, the short at the beginning. What's it? Is it Herbert? No, what's his name? What's the baby's name? Completely gone out of my head now. But the whole sequence where Roger's trying to look after the baby with the knives, and it's just so good. And I remember watching that at the cinema. Just never seen any animation quite like what they did with that. It was just astonishingly good. I'm sure Baby Herman, isn't it?
Baby Herman, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, Baby Herman. And I just remember just laughing all the way through it for most of it. So much good, like taking the photos and you see the thing of them playing patty cake and stuff, and all the little touches like that. And there's just so much good stuff in this, and it's so clever. The bit where he goes into Toonland at the end. Yeah. It's and how else my brother was killed by someone dropping a piano on his head or whatever it was,
just like a tune. I mean, I really like the character of Eddie Valiant and Bob Hoskins' portrayal of that, because Roger Rabbit's an old story, isn't it? That it's quite an old story that they've sort of re-energized, I guess. But I really like the character of Eddie Valiant. I liked his sort of sadness as well. I think Christopher Lloyd's amazing in it. The guy that played Roger Rabbit permanently wore a rabbit suit throughout the whole of the making of that. And he just used to turn up on the set as Roger Rabbit and talked like Roger Rabbit all the time, just in character all the time. I mean, that would probably be quite annoying in the end.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Was it Charles Fleischer, wasn't it, his name? And there's an interesting little extra factoid for you. Do you know in the sequence in the film where now this is a scene that's actually removed from the TV version later, but where they drop a shoe into dip. Dip is the stuff that they use the only thing that can kill a cartoon is dip. Yeah. And in the film, Judge puts a glove on and gets the cute little shoe and sticks it in a vat of dip and just melts it. It's quite a terrifying scene. And the little shoe screams. Yeah. That's Nancy Cartwright does the voice of that scream.
Oh, what, Bart Simpson?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's where Nancy Cartwright got a big break, strangely enough. So if it wasn't for her breaking that, she would never have been Bart Simpson.
Oh, I did not know that. Interestingly as well, this is the only time that characters from Walt Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons have appeared together on screen.
Yeah, I bet that was a legal nightmare.
I can imagine it was, yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those films sort of thing that just you watched it and you didn't quite understand what you were seeing, and like the way that sort of incorporate, because there was loads after this, weren't there? Loads that kind of did things like Space Jam and things like that sort of
they used that cell shading technique, didn't they, and stuff like that. But
just like the amount of work, the little touches, like when Baby Herman walks into that woman's dress and flicks the dress up, and it flicks up, and
it's those
incredible stuff.
It's those parts that blow my mind now. It's the parts where you have mechanical, physical movement of objects, where they literally had people holding things up underneath from wires and tricks and moving things around. That sequence in the bar where the penguins are walking and holding plates with glasses on. The glasses and the trays are real. The penguins obviously are animated, but there's just thin wires underneath, like a pole, where they put the glass on top of it, and there's people underneath walking around underneath the giant platform. So they made an elevated platform. Yeah. All the puppeteers are underneath, moving those bloody things around. It's astonishing. It's just the level of thought and detail that goes into planning for that.
the sequence when he's got Roger in the, and he's, there's two actually. There's that famous sequence, isn't there, where he keeps banging his head on the lamp and he's trying to saw the hacksaw through the handcuffs that he's got on Roger Rabbit, and Roger slips out of him and holds the table when he's doing it, which is it's a really funny scene. But that where he keeps hitting his head on the lamp, he keeps swinging the lamp, and they have to animate the light source onto Roger Rabbit. It's a famous phrase, bumping the lamp they call it now. It's actually an industry term called bumping the lamp. But that famously is where it came from, and it's just loads of stuff like that in it. It's just such a great film, Roger Rabbit, and everyone should see Roger Rabbit. And it did spawn some games, and they're not very good.
No.
But,
do you know that Tim Curry auditioned for the role of Judge Doom?
I can see him being a really good Judge Doom.
But Zemeckis, Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Eisner found his performance quite terrifying.
Can you imagine it would be too much? Because he later on does other things, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He plays baddies. He's It, isn't he? He's Pennywise in It.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, in the
original
first,
one. I mean,
in the first version of it. Yeah, and he's also in the Legend of the White Tape is True.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. Don't eat my sesame cake. Yeah,
that's him. Good old Tim Curry.
But yes, Roger Rabbit classic, and of course it's got Jessica Rabbit in. We can't really go mention Roger Rabbit without mentioning Jessica Rabbit, because it's Jessica Rabbit.
I mean, it spawned the 83rd most famous line ever, or voted the first 100 greatest movies line, which is the "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way."
Drawn that way, classic.
Voted as the 83rd greatest movie line ever.
I feel if I was talking to my daughter about Roger Rabbit only yesterday. Because I do stupid things. I don't know if you do this. I don't know if it's a sign of my early onset dementia or something. But I was just walking around and I was doing the old shaving a haircut. I'm just tapping on things around the kitchen with a spoon while I was waiting for the kettle to boil. So I was like, dun, 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 dun. And my daughter said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing the old shaving a haircut, just seeing if Roger Rabbit's in, because no tune can resist it." And that's a true fact. And that was only the other day. Goodness. So, there you go.
No, that's just you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm seeing something about it. It's a long-term goal.
2nd December, if you didn't want to go see that, and you really, you were a fool, you could have gone seen The Bedroom Window.
Yeah, you wouldn't have.
No, because this starred Steve Guttenberg.
Steve Guttenberg, a star. We do.
In the first of 2 films this month with Steve Guttenberg in.
Yeah, you can't escape him.
It was, but interestingly though, and I might actually give this a view, because it is directed by Curtis Hanson.
Okay.
And I have time for Curtis Hanson, because Curtis Hanson did LA Confidential, which is one of my favourite films.
Pretty good, yeah. It's a good film.
I love LA Confidential. It's astonishingly well directed. So this is Steve Guttenberg, Elizabeth McGovern. A young executive starts an affair with his boss's wife, which then escalates into a nightmare after he lies to the police in order to protect her. So could be all right. I've never seen it, but I think I'm actually going to give that a viewing at some point. You would have been a fool to go see that, though, over, because by this point he hadn't released LA Confidential. You would have been a fool to go see that over Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes, you would. You might not have got in.
A flipping fool.
Those were full cinemas when that was out. It was, you had to get there real early.
Yeah. So good. A week later, 9th of December, Willow.
Willow Ufgood.
Interesting film. This is George Lucas directed or written?
Written. I don't think he directed it.
No, it's Ron Howard, isn't it? Directed it.
Yeah.
So this is George Lucas written, but directed by Ron Howard. So this is a fantasy film. When fantasy films were a big budget fantasy film at that.
Yes, it is.
Out of Hollywood, when those sort of things were a bit not being made anymore. We're sort of past the high time of swords and sorcery films back in the early 80s. So this seemed like a weird thing out of place. I believe this is where Val Kilmer and Joanne Whalley met. And
it is.
Became
it's exactly true.
Became man and wife. Became Joanne Whalley Kilmer.
Yep.
It's an odd film, this. Have you watched it recently?
I haven't seen it for quite a while, actually. I do remember it quite fondly, and it had ILM doing the effects, didn't it? So at the time, some of the visual effects in it are quite nice as well.
Yeah,
so it had that going for it.
There's a lot of clever sort of special effects in this. The big sort of 2-headed chicken dragon and
that's right,
and things like that, and the kind of weird sort of creatures that crawl on the walls. There's there's more early morphing in this.
There is,
because he's changing the old witch into stuff and changing into a tiger and all stuff like that.
I just remember it being a bit tonally challenged, a bit off. It's just a vague hint of a memory, but I haven't watched it recently, so I can't confirm that.
You're not wrong. It is, because it's got. I mean, Val Kilmer's playing the character of Mad Martigan, and John Whalley is the daughter of the Queen, I think, and so she's against him, but then they end up together and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's a. it is a weird film. It feels not. It's like someone doing fantasy that just threw some fantasy tropes together in a sort of
exploitative,
weird
maybe?
way. No, I don't know if it's exploitative. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what, who, it's two writers. It's George Lucas and Bob Dolman who wrote it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to take things away because it's an interesting film and we weren't getting these sort of films around at that time. So I remember going and seeing it and quite enjoying it. But there were bits of it which I didn't like because I was reading a lot of fantasy and stuff. So I was, I'm a sucker. I was definitely going to go see it. I did. But I just remember coming out going, that was okay. But there was, it felt like fantasy for beginners.
Yeah, it is very, very
that
soft,
makes sense.
isn't it? It's because it's a kids' film, really, isn't it? So
yeah, but then again, some parts of it aren't. Some parts of it are quite like a lot of sort of kids' films back then. It sort of wasn't.
Yeah, bit dark here and there.
Yeah, and it has recently been revived, hasn't it, with a TV series?
I've not watched any of those.
I watched
good things about it.
It's tonally all over the place, and it's been tweened, massively tweened.
Say no more.
And again, there are some good bits in it, and there's some funny moments in it. There's a good episode where Christian Slater turns up and things, but and there's some nice ideas and some really good bits in it, and that's when it's sort of sticking to its sort of fantasy bits. But when it goes down the tween route, that's when it
isn't that what
annoying.
killed the recent Amazon Lord of the Rings series as well? Is that when it was visually amazing, but some of the characters was just a little bit just pick better people kind of thing. So
maybe we're getting more of that. They've signed up for 5 series of that.
Of course they have, because it was. I mean, it's amazing, but it is again is a bit tweened and
a little bit maybe. That's Willow. If you hadn't had enough of Steve Guttenberg the previous week, then you could have gone and seen High Spirits as well on the 9th of December.
That's true.
Steve Guttenberg month is in full effect. This is the one with Daryl Hannah and Peter O'Toole.
It is.
It's the spooky ghost story set in Ireland, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's all right. It's just harmless fun. It's not terrible, but it's got usual Steve Guttenberg appearance in it. So he plays the guy that he plays.
Yeah, and Peter O'Toole plays Peter O'Toole.
Yeah, he's a bit dribbly in that, isn't he? Yeah.
I believe he is, yeah. And Daryl Hannah's one of the ghosts, I think. It's a hotelier who says his hotel is haunted to get guests in, and then 2 actual ghosts do turn up.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember it again being a bit one of those sort of late 80s sort of weird concept comedies that doesn't really know what to do with itself.
Yeah.
Directed and written by Neil Jordan.
Aye, so weird.
Yeah, I mean, Neil Jordan did things like The Crying Game, Michael Collins.
Weird. It wasn't one that was on my high view list, I suppose.
No,
when I've got Roger Rabbit and Willow out, I'm not really going to get a look in.
I mean, the two films he did before this were Mona Lisa and The Company of Wolves.
No, weird.
It sticks out like a sore thumb, this does.
High Spirits was always in the video shop. And there's a strange little extra fact about the video shop. One of the more popular customers at the time was Warwick Davis for the Blockbuster I worked in.
He lived in Grimsby, didn't he, for a bit? Yeah,
lived in Louth. Yeah,
lived in Louth. Yeah.
And he used to come to Blockbuster in Grimsby, and he used to pop in. He was a really, really nice guy. Really, genuinely nice guy. He was always on time with he always brought his films back fully rewound and always on time. And that is the sign of a good renter.
That's what. So you didn't have to rewind them.
No, we had a rewinder machine as well for the people that broke that rule. But he was never one of them. Really nice guy. And he always used to stand for a chat. Very humble guy. You could chat to him about all of his Star Wars stuff. None of that. No problem. It wasn't like he was sick of talking about it. He'd take a few minutes to chat to you about stuff and have a laugh, and then be like, oh, it's nice to chat to you. Thanks. Bye. He's a cool guy.
That's cool. It's good to know.
He always made your day when you had him in.
Oh, it's good to know it didn't go to his head. It's good.
Yeah.
A week later, 16th of December, you could have gone seen Like Father, Like Son.
Not very good. That
I don't know if I've seen it. It's Dudley Moore body swap one, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Dudley Moore. You'd have previously seen him as an elf, wouldn't you? If you'd have seen the Santa Claus the movie was on, you went,
yeah.
So I don't know. You either like Dudley Moore or you don't. I do like Dudley Moore when he's in his early films. Those ones he made in the 60s and 70s. Not so much these ones.
Well, this is his sort of. It's not that good. He's trying to sort of do Hollywood comedies because he did that Best Defense with Eddie Murphy.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So this is Dudley Moore's period of trying to sort of be a bit more of a Hollywood leading man, because obviously I think everything since sort of obviously his big one was Arthur.
Yeah, that was his. Well, that was the one that he became quite famous for in the US, was it? Arthur, wasn't it? Yeah. And
well, there's Arthur, and before that he did 10, the one with Bo Derek.
Oh, I like 10. I really like 10. I'm going to watch that now. I haven't watched that in ages.
Blake Edwards, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, yeah. It's got famously. I think is it that film that's got it's got his wife because he was married to what's the singer out of The Sound of Music? Famous singer,
Julie Andrews.
He was married to Julie Andrews, Blake Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's in. Is she in 10? Yeah, I think she takes a top off in that. I think could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she does.
She might do. Oh, he also did Hound of the Baskervilles.
He did. But my favourite Dudley Moore movie ever is Bedazzled.
Bedazzled. Oh, that's really early in his career, isn't it? Yeah, that's
Bedazzled. Bedazzled is a brilliant, underrated film, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, not the remake though.
No. Never watched the remake. Watch the original Bedazzled because it's got Peter Cook in it.
Yeah, Peter Cook.
He plays the devil in it. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you did the Hound of the Baskervilles where Peter Cook was Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, really good
as well. That was quite
later
good
down the line though. His late 80s films, not so much.
Yeah, Best Defense, Mickey Moore, Santa Claus. Like Father, Like Son, Arthur 2 on the Rocks. That was terrible. A mistake.
That was terrible.
Yeah. And, he was a special guest on Noel's house party, though.
Random.
Just to say.
Absolutely random.
There you go. So Like Father, Like Son now. Finally, just to round out the month, 26th of December, if you weren't full of Christmas pudding and whatever, you could have gone and seen Moonwalker.
Could have.
The Michael Jackson thing.
I remember it being visually amazing. I don't remember. I never saw it at the cinema. I do know that because I wasn't really into it. I don't know what it's about. I mean, it's got some real names in it, hasn't it? So
it's according to IMDb, it combines a new number of music videos from his person with a fantasy tale of Michael's confrontation with a ruthless drug dealer known as Mr. Big.
Okay, played by Joe Pesci, of course.
Okay, it's got Sean Lennon in it. Well, because why not? I don't know. It's not something I'm ever going to ever watch, especially not now.
No, written by Michael Jackson. Well, parts of it were.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably the music, isn't it?
Yeah, and the part where he goes and dances.
Because it's basically just a big advert for Big, isn't it? It's loads of, and it's kind of a bit weirdy all over the sort of place, but it's a very strange experience.
Parts of it are visually amazing. The part where he transforms into that robot, really good.
Yeah.
And obviously some of the sequences, but they're the bits I remember. I don't remember seeing the thing as a whole, and it spawned an arcade game, didn't it? And some C64 demos, I believe. So
yeah, didn't it spawn also a ride at one of the big sort of parks in the US?
Rings a bell. I'm going to say yes because it's the sort of thing that must have done. But I genuinely, by this point, I was totally tuning out of Michael Jackson and stuff anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's
had no meaning for me, this one.
No, I'd given up. And I certainly wasn't going to go watch a film at the cinema with him in, because I'd seen, I mean, it's just a load of music videos, which I'd already seen. And I'm like, I'm a bit done with that now.
Yes.
So there we go. So that's it. That was your films for December 1988. I mean, you've got things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is ace. Bedroom Window sounds interesting. Willow it's an interesting film. I'm not sure it stands up today. High Spirits, again, don't think. Like Father, Like Son, probably not. A Moonwalker, weird, just weird. A weird month of releases, but none of the, that was it. That's what we got. We're going to go take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll have our last 4 games of the year to get through.
Wow.
So, will they be good? Will they be bad?
Prepare yourself.
Yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Now, if I could just make it out past Dizzo, I don't think the cops will ever discover this contraband I'm carrying. I'm going to be rich. Wait, oh no, it's a police Viper.
Right, Cobra Mark 3 pilot, let's be having you. What's in the cargo hold then?
Nothing of interest, sir. Just some textiles and willow pattern plates from Lave.
Really? I see some books and audiobooks back there. David Hearn's Case of the Notorious Roboticist, Starfarers and Thanians in Space, and a copy of Back in Time for a Donut.
I was hungry.
And you've got them in audiobook form and paperback. You know books are illegal in this system. No copy of Escape from the Commodore 64, though.
Well, I could grab it next time and maybe give it to you for your trouble.
On your way then, move along and watch out for Dargo Eats.
Oh, that was a close one. For more details on cargo just like mine, hyperjump over to davidhearnwriter.com. Now, just a dock at that space station without a docking computer. Are you keeping up? The Commodore is keeping up with you. And we are back. We are back with our last 4 games of 1988. This is it. There's no more after this for this year. We are done. Let's get through them. Let's get into them. Let's get savage.
No, you mean ravage. Ravage.
Savage. Savage. Graham, tell us all about savage.
It's the spittiest drum sound, isn't it? Savage. 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 It's just someone spitting on a microphone. Not very nice, that. Anyway, another Amiga ST game turned C64 thing, this, isn't it? Lots of noise. This was published by Firebird, developed by Probe, coded by Grant Harrison, graphics by Steve Crow, title screen Paul Doherty, Mr. Doc, the Doc Man, Mr. Doc, Paul Doherty, and the music is by Jerome Tell, Mr. Tell, a fancy Mr. Tell. So there's a very fancy sample-strewn Sid tune at the beginning of this, which we've previously mentioned. Spitty drum sounds at the start with a bit of ravage. I thought it doesn't feel thematically linked to the notion of this game at all. This game's about battling through dungeons and all sorts of stuff. This tune felt more at home to me like on a racing game or something like that. Ironically, because the same sort of technique is used for the Outrun Turbo, I think, Turbo Outrun music. Anyway, it's not bad if it is what it is. Just, ravage and spitty drums. Very spitty. So Savage then, there's a fairly lengthy tale to this. I'm not going to go through the whole lot. It says it's got the classic sort of narrative for a game that doesn't have you doing a great deal of stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
It says, fired by rage, Savage plunges into an orgy of violence, wielding his trusty battle axe. Wielding an axe, are you? All right. That's not kind of what I thought it was, but okay. In a manic fighting frenzy, dispatching all who stand in his way. Ahead of him awaits a labyrinth of dank and gloomy dungeons, concealing a myriad of demons and ghouls. I'll try that again. Ahead of him waits a labyrinth of dank and gloomy dungeons, concealing a myriad of demons and ghouls, all ready to put a bloody end to his attempt to escape. The battle crew Savage will have to use all his skill and experience as a master of hand-to-hand combat, but he's using an axe. I suppose it's still hand-to-hand, I guess. To overcome this. The ultimate challenge. So, from the beginning, Savage will be assailed by a number of deadly mutant monsters. Once dispatched, they will each yield a piece of the weaponry that will enable Savage to carry on his fight. The task awaiting him is in the infested labyrinth is to fight the inhabitants of the castle and the deep dungeons. Savage is able to collect items of great wealth and power that will increase his strength as well as the hoard of treasure, but the conflict will sap his strength and strain each muscle of his body to its limit. I won't go. There's a whole bunch more about he travels through dungeons and the dungeons are dangerous and then he realizes a thing and there's loads of stuff. I'm not going to go into all that because it's just trying to over-elaborate on something that is very simple. So, there's no point. And it's a classic example of that. So the game really is run to the right, shoot and jump. So that's kind of it in this.
Yep.
And get to the bosses. Beat them and keep going. So all of that fancy, he's the greatest savage warrior with the axe-wielding strength of and all that. It doesn't matter because it is what it is. Everything attacks you all the time in this. You have weapons. And you can get better ones. You must keep going at a frantic old pace. The pace and feel of this reminded me a little bit of Hawkeye in many ways. In fact, there's quite a lot of games this kind of reminded me of, but Hawkeye principally, and I'll come to a few others as well. The game window, once you get to the game, because when I started, I don't know if it did it for you, the game just started immediately. It's like, you're at game, go. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. But there is a sort of a title screen. I'm not sure if that was just the limitations of the crack we had anyway. The game window is split into two with a weird UI at the top that looked like a weird metallic uterus, which was a bit odd. Under that, our game plays out. I'd say the split was about 50-50, maybe 60-40, maybe. Anyway, your UI uterus thing tells you useful things like how much energy you have, your score, etc., and that kind of thing. The game under that sees you as a larger than average sprite barbarian, pegging it around some well-drawn shaded dungeons and general ghost and goblins inspired levels. By that I mean ghosts and goblins in the kind of colour scheme and the way they kind of play out. But they're all super zoomed in. So it all happens really in your face and really zoomed in and fast. Everything's big and zoomed in this. Zoomed, way too zoomed. The animation on your player isn't terrible, all percent done. It's quite big. And once again, you're a kind of big brown coloured barbarian with really white teeth and white flowing hair again. It's a bit like that other barbarian game I played, really. That seems to be a theme here. All barbarians have really white hair, flowing hair. And you're out with crappy axes at the start, which seemingly don't do anything. They just kind of flop out of you like you've got a whole... swing an axe, which is what I would expect to have been doing in this, swinging an axe.
Yeah, it would have been
fumbling
better.
about, sort of, it look like you're juggling mini axes and you lose control of the juggling. You're like,
So you're sort of doing that, really. Doesn't feel particularly heroic. So they don't go too far, and there's better weapons that you can collect en route. There's loads of flying enemies in this that's got to dive at you all the time. If you kill them, they'll occasionally drop health or weapons. All the action is here controlled by the joystick. Left and right jump is the directions. Crouch is obviously down in directions, and fire is fire your axe or fumble your juggling. You can sometimes blend in with the backgrounds a little bit, I thought, when you're running about, which is a bit naff. But they are generally quite nicely shaded. Here, mostly here and there, there's some nice bits. And the mini bosses, when they appear, aren't terrible. Okay, so and there's 3 levels to this, principally. So this is level 1. Okay, so that's level 1. So it's a run, jump, and hack, that part, in every respect. It's quite kinetic, which I think is quite nice. So when something hits and lands in this, if it bounces, the whole screen sort of has a shake effect. Which I thought was quite a nice thing. I quite like that. And you get little mini text messages and encouraging things that sort of float on to the screen all the time. And I quite like that as well. So I quite like it. Had a kind of a I don't know. It had a kind of a nice arcadey sort of tonality to that. So you get these kind of this sort of floating messages that egg you on. So you're doing great, keep going, and that kind of thing. Wow, and I quite like that. It's got the pace is there for that. Anyway, when you get past that. You go to a completely different level for level 2. It's like completely different.
Yes,
so
you do.
Get past the first one. And by the way, the story attached to this is really stupid, by the way. So you're actually going out to rescue somebody at this point in the game. So in complete contrast to level 1, you're in a weird hybrid of Space Harrier and other 3D effect Zoomer games. The UI changes. So instead of your metallic uterus, you've now got a knurled horn on either side of the play window. And a display at the bottom showing score and, well, I think that's what it was. It's a little bit nondescript at the bottom there. You've got a crosshairs on this, controlled by the joystick, and you must travel across the zoomy, stripy raster bar world, which is called Death Valley, avoiding pillars and giant skulls and shooting at stuff. Halfway through the eye-straining journey, in the story terms, you realise it was all a trick, and you've been tricked into going the wrong direction, so you have to go all the way back to where you were started off with. So you actually, in the sense, you actually turn around and just go back down Stripey Alley and do the exact same thing you've just done, but in reverse, which is, for you, it doesn't make a difference, it's just stroboscopic. You'll do all of this, not before your eyes have been stroboscopically destroyed by this point. So you just be like, you saw on 2001 for me at this point. I was Jupiter Beyond the Infinite. I was like, big blinks. I woke up in a all-white room, and I saw a version of myself playing a grand piano, but I was like 60 years old, which isn't that far away, really, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Bit depressing,
True.
that. Anyway, title music for level 2. Now, that is a great piece of Jerome Tell music. So the music, because each level music it sort of works better. The music in-game is different to that stupid titles music, which is, it is what it is, but the music in-game is actually generally a bit better. It still doesn't feel really like it's linked to a running barbarian game, but it's pretty good anyway. But it's better. It sort of suits the 3D zooming thing. Although in this one, of course, you've got in-game sounds. So the music's on the title bit, but you get in-game sounds, which aren't as inspired, shall we say. And as you progress in this, so when you get so far into the Zoomatron, it breaks and it goes, wow, you've got so far, you're doing great. And you think, oh, thank God for that. And you go back, it's back in you go, zoom, stroboscopic yellow and green stripes. Big blocky thing zooming towards you. Anyway, if you get past all that, you'll get to level 3. Now, this is where you play the game as a bird.
Yep.
Because he realizes that in order to infiltrate and get in easier, rather than going in as himself, he goes in as an eagle. All right. I'm not sure that was a great plan, but okay. So it changes the game from sort of what it was in the first part to a kind of weird shoot 'em up bird maze, which is just not what I expected this game to do at all, but there you go. Hey-ho. You need to navigate your mighty eagle. Why is it always eagles in these fantasy games? Why do the eagles always happen to come to the rescue at the end of things?
Because eagles are cool.
Everyone loves the eagles.
Everybody.
If they only buy steaks, it's enough to pay the ground rent for a month. Anyway, 10 points for you can never name what that's from. Anyway, so in this part of the game, it's a sort of complex series of maze-like tunnels and scrolling maze-like passages where you've got to navigate those to get to the end. You zoomed in again, and it's a more familiar 2D side-scrolling type affair with a really nice animated eagle, all said and done, and a whole load of weird and out-of-place sprites to challenge or delight you, depends on what you think. The UI has changed again. This time we've got some kind of claw-strewn dashboard with a health life indications in it. You fly around with the joystick, shoot is your button. If it's zoomed in a bit too much again, so if it feels like it's like really claustrophobic. The background graphics are similar to level 1. In fact, actually probably slightly better. The pace is a little bit faster, but it's just everything's so damn close and so zoomed in. You're like, trying to. An eagle is a big bird, so navigating a giant eagle through a series of fairly thin tunnels is difficult at best. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if he's transformed into an eagle, manimal style, or he's riding an eagle. I don't know. I couldn't get my head around how the eagle was really involved.
Probably best
anyway,
not to think about it.
I don't think I want to know anyway. It's apparently the idea is that you've got to get to the end of this and rescue the princess or rescue the woman that you're trying to rescue. I think I kind of lost track of what I was doing at this point. I mean, bear in mind, to get to this point, I've run through a maze, I've flown through a stroboscopic world, and I've turned into a bloody eagle bird. I'm like, right, okay. I'm guessing somebody was smoking the old loco weed during the making of this. I think maybe you should fly in the tunnels as a giant eagle. Anyway. So the bongs, right? You can use the bubbles sound to all the bongs going off, and yep. So the pace is a little bit faster, like I said. The animation of the eagle, good. There ain't a lot of screen real estate to play with, though. It's very tight quarters. That eagle's wings are going to get clipped. Now, mercifully, it's not. You don't touch the walls and die, but it's just you're crammed in, and it's not that much fun. And it's quite hard to navigate and negotiate all the stuff. The music is excellent on that particular part as well. One of the better JT tunes for the game, all said and done. So overall, graphically, technically, it's impressive. It is nice the way it looks. The characters are good. Backgrounds, general UI, weird or otherwise. I think that's nicely realised. It kind of looks the part. And I thought I didn't have it on a CRT, but I imagine on a CRT it probably looks even nicer. Sort of nice details and some of the shading. Okay, nicely realised. The game design is odd. It reminded me of a weird Flash Gordon variation. Because that had three mini games in it. One of them was a flying sequence. So the effects and the production push this onwards a little bit, but under the hood, the first level is quite dull and you're constantly being attacked, which is a bit of a drain. We've said that about loads of games. It feels like you run and mash buttons, really, in that. And it's just you're just running and mashing. It's less like that in level 2, but that's the stroboscopic brain. Your eyes are going to be rotating for about 6 months after you play that, just spinning. You'll feel like that the Judge Doom in Roger Rabbit. Your eyes will be like, I feel just like this. It's a bit. So it's a bit heavy on the eye, that. And again, you just sort of zoom around and, you'll get there in the end. It's not that difficult to do. Level 3, it's just too close to the action and claustrophobic. I want to control the eagle, but I need to be further away from it. It's just like, I felt claustrophobic for that eagle. I was like, poor eagle. It's like, it's trapped in that tiny little caves and it's not, anyway. So it just needed the arcade sensibilities and that production level. It's all there. It's a bit too punishing, but it's just, everything's too zoomed in and too close in it doesn't quite work together. It doesn't gel properly. It feels like three things bolted together. In fact, it probably was 3 games that somehow got bolted together with a weird narrative. It's not terrible. None of it's terrible. The code, music, graphics, they're quite of a high standard. They reminded me, like I said, that they've got the graphic sort of dexterity of Hawkeye, that kind of shading, that kind of look. The sound is by the same guy that did Hawkeye, so it's got that kind of sound to it. There's a vibe. And there's quite a bit you could like, but that game design, repetitive, dreary, you never feel like you're going to get any better at this. This is not a game where you're developing skills. You just survive longer. That's it. You just mash the buttons and survive a bit longer each time you play it. So it's more luck than judgment. You do get a code for the levels as well. So if you get there, because if you just try and play the levels, I'm guessing you can load them independently. I don't know, but you can just play them and you start with 1 life if you do that. If you happen to get through the first level, you get a code and that code will then start the next level with the number of lives that you supposedly have. It won't help you, really. That's how it starts. No. So you don't have to sort of, just keep trying to battle through on the 1 life thing. Nice production, some nice arcade touches, but devoid of any real longevity and too bloody zoomed in again. Stop zooming in so far. Can't be zoomed in. Just bring it back a bit. Scale it back a bit. That eagle part would have been great if it had been further back. What did you think?
Well, I thought this reminded me very much of Trantor.
Yes. I never thought of Trantor, but similar sort of idea, isn't it? Running left and right.
I mean, the same amount of space, the UIs, same place, same sort of screen split.
Yeah, even the bricks across the top similar. I mean, that was a Spectrum game turned thingy, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, and this is a big, C16.
Both
Probe software, yeah. And so, big sprite in the middle, running along, very close.
Yeah, totally get it. Yeah.
There's a lot of similarity between those two. I thought in that first level, anyway. Obviously, so all oversized sprites, but there's just so little in the way of gameplay. There is no gameplay to this. It's just run along and spam the fire button and hope you survive.
Yeah,
sit and jump. Jump over those things and jump and flop around, and then you'll get to some end of level boss and just run back and forth and maybe pick up a lightning bolt. And it's just boring. It's just really boring. It's designed from about 3 years ago. This is the sort of design we sort of was looking at. Endlessly spamming, stuff just happening, loads of enemies, constantly spawning. Dull. Yeah, it may look and sound pretty good. And yeah, I did think that. I think, it's impressive technically, but it plays awfully. Even, the other two sections as well, none of them play very well. And that's, at the core, that's what we play games for. They can look nice. And don't get me wrong, this looks okay for, like you said, apart from the weird shading with the white edges and the white hair and the white teeth and everything. But, we've just seen so many of these, and there's no amount of stuff around the edges can hide the fact it's just dull and vacuous. I think 72% is too dangerous. I mean, this was bettered. I mean, you're right. It's too close, sort of thing. If you're going to do this, I mean, Green Beret does this, and Green Beret does it better.
Yes, it does.
Obviously it doesn't have the 3D section, but the main chunk of this,
need it.
It's scrolling action stakes. I mean, like you said, and Flash Gordon was a good call because obviously Flash Gordon had that 3D section in the middle as well. But I thought that was more varied, and we didn't particularly had some problems with Flash Gordon, but I thought that's probably a better game than this, as it at least had a bit of time, and you could, this just felt like. It's like those army moves games and things like that. They look good, but they just can't hold. Just hold off on your spawn routine, on your enemy spawn routine. Just slow them down a bit.
Yeah.
Let me explore.
There seems to be a bit of this kind of viewpoint for these kind of games is a very 16-bit thing at this time. You think about all the 16-bit games that start to roll out, that look a bit like a barbarian running around left and right in a nice sort of
Shadow of the Beast and stuff.
Shadow of the Beast, Shadow of the Beast 2. There's Wrath of the Demon. There's loads of them. Yeah,
you're right. But yeah, but like I said, it reminded me of Trantor in that first section.
Yeah, good call. That
the second section is what it it's a 3D, but we've seen plenty of them as well, whether they're bad or good. And eagles.
Eagle, fly free, but not in that game.
Yeah, no, I didn't like Savage. Free. I think it's just a bit of it's all front end. It's
all style over substance, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely. It's a smarmy guy in a nightclub who's got nothing in the fridge at home.
It's a burly guy who drops his pints carrying them across the staircase.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. They're savage.
Savage.
That's what I think of you, Harvey. Let's move on. We've got 3 left. If Savage wants Savage Enough You, then we've got Super Dragon Slayer. Sounds like a SNES game.
It sounds exactly like a SNES game.
That's what I expected. I was thinking, but obviously the SNES isn't out yet at this point, so it's not. But Super Dragon Slayer. This is Codemasters Plus, Graham. Yes, Plus.
Oh,
Codemasters Plus is where this comes from. None of your normal, boring, ordinary, simulator-heavy Codemasters guff here. No, this is Codemasters Plus. Plus. And for the extra plus, you will pay an extra £3.
Somebody £3, sir.
You want Codemasters Plus? You pay £5. £5.
You pay £5 for this.
So what do you get for this extra? Well, you get 2 cassettes and 2 difficulty modes. Oh, can you feel the plus? Can you? Can you?
Can you feel the plusage?
I don't know. Anyway, Super Dragon Slayer is here from John D. Ferrari. That's a cool name, isn't it? It's a great
name. It is a good name.
But he also did The Human Race and Hollywood or Bust.
Okay.
Yeah. Along with others we've not got to yet. So anyway, it also has music by Barry Leach.
Good music.
So that's something as well. There's no story inside the case aside from this. It's on the back or in the middle. It's somewhere in the case. There's loads and loads of sides to the case in this. It's really weird. You hesitate as you enter the magical kingdom. You may never come back. All sorts of horrors lurk in the damp darkness of the eerie dungeons. Never in any dungeons in this game. The old town seems strangely deserted. You're not in a town either, but not for long. You must work hard to conquer the myriad of servants of the evil Dragon Lord, but it can be done.
Okay, all right. That's fair.
Thanks. The game has 2 modes, standard and expert, both of which are loaded separately.
Weird.
And the levels are multi-load as well. That's why you get 2 sets, I suppose they need to justify that £5 somehow. Okay. After all this loading and choosing which mode you want, we get our title screen, which has a grey background. Why not black?
It does.
Doesn't look good. Everything would have stood out better because we've got a couple of animated dragons and some raster effect lettering that just look odd against the grey background. It just looks really weird. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but anyway, no options to go into the game. So the instructions on the inlay for this are next to useless because there's no details in the game apart from the basics in 3 different languages. That's what you get. You get 3 pages, but it tells you nothing. Indeed, they spend more space on telling you about other games and how great the Darling Brothers are than telling us about the game. That's what this is about. Where's their priorities lie at this point? Clearly not here. Anyway, this game has 4 levels to play through, but only if you play on expert mode. If you play the standard mode, you cannot progress beyond level 3. The other difference between the two modes is that in expert mode, if you die, you start back at level 1. But on standard, you can continue from the level you died on. But what's the point when you can't complete the game in this mode? This hasn't been thought through.
No, never is.
Standard mode should have all the game, just be easier.
Yes.
Expert mode,
You want a lot for your money here.
I want plus.
The plus is you get to finish the game. That's the plus.
Yeah, not that you want to. Each level sees you level up your power and rank of spellcaster as you progress through these. So level 1 has you start out as a magician. On level 2, you are an enchanter. Level 3 sees you as a sorcerer. And finally, level 4, if you're playing an expert, obviously, casts you as a necromancer. And I'll come to what that entails shortly. So the game. This is, to all intents and purposes, a side-scrolling shooter, but instead of flying through it as you normally would in these games, you run and jump, which is an odd combination of genres and not without its issues. I found. So it's a push-scroll game. So like Green Beret and things like that. Imagine that. So you're running from left to right, and so it's not an auto-scroller. So you control your magician as you move from left to right. Waves of enemies swoop in, and you must either dodge or shoot them. They don't come for you; they just move around. So you can just dodge it. It's like weird. The action takes place in the bottom half of the screen, and the top half has the UI, which has the words score and power in massive letters. But your actual score and power are in a normal size font just underneath them. I want my score in big letters.
Very strange.
I want my numbers. I want to see big numbers. I don't care. It's just weird. You've also got a health bar that reduces as you take hits, and there are some boxes. You have 3 of these in level 1, and you get 1 more every level, so you're up to 6 of them in the 4th level. These are labelled by a number. As you kill certain enemies, they will drop spell books. Collecting enough, and you'll be awarded a spell which will be shown in one of the boxes, and pressing the corresponding number casts it. So by the end of it, if you got all 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, will cast the spell that everybody's in there. These spells range from smart bomb type things to frogs, which make you jump further, and so on and so on. There's all kinds of different stuff. You can also pick up scrolls, and these will replenish your energy bar. And this is a good thing, as you only have 1 life and lose all your energy, and it's bedtime for Bonzo. So, you die. The visuals on this are chunky and a bit ugly, all told. They're a bit ugly. I think, there's not a lot of definition here. The main sprite is kind of okay, I guess. The way you change from level to level as you rank up is a nice touch. Basically, you're a magician, but you just get more armor. I found that a bit weird as you go from level to level. You just end up looking like a massive knight, which is odd by the end of it. Because you're a magician, you're a necromancer. This is odd. Each level's very different, but it's a multi-load, so there's lots of, that all changes, but none of it looks particularly appealing. It's all a bit of a mess, and it just, all the backgrounds and the foregrounds and everything, they just kind of blend into each other. Sprites and stuff are a random assortment of ducks, potions and Medusa heads, and many other things. None of it seems thematically consistent. It's just whatever they can think of. So there's no coherency to any of this. It kind of feels like a game from, again, 3 years previous. It looks and feels like a game from 1985. There's also a long dragon that appears at times, and contact with this is instant death. So try and avoid that. So all this is kind of bad enough, but then we've got the controls. Yeah, movement is all right. Moving left and right. It takes too long to turn round. This is a pain as you are beset by enemies from both in front and behind you. So you've got kind of like a turning animation rather than just a snap animation, which I would have preferred. So that's annoying. But the biggest bugbear is the jump. You can only jump upwards, not forwards. This is stupid.
It's just really odd.
Utterly stupid. I can jump forwards, and I'm no superhero. The long jump event would be really crap if people couldn't jump forwards. Can you imagine that? He's sprinting towards the board. He's taken off 0.0 meters. It's a new world record. Yay. It's just stupid. Why can't I? Just ridiculous. This might not be such an issue if the game did not have insta-kill holes in it. So there's holes in the floor.
Stupid.
You can't jump over them. You've got to navigate the conveniently placed platforms and then float forwards off these platforms to you get kind of at a diagonal to get across the holes. This is just stupid. First time I did it, I was like, how am I going to get over here? I kept falling. I was like, what this? You have to go to the top of the bloody first tree and then fall off, and then you'll just clear the hole. It's like, this is ridiculous. All this makes for a frustrating and clumsy control and navigation method that only seems to be there to facilitate the frog spell, which does allow you to jump forward and makes navigating the levels more painful than they need to be. You walk forward, jump, jump. It's just stupid. I hated it. But so it just ruins it. With a better and more responsive control system, I could have overlooked the visuals and bland sound effects because the music is okay in it, but the sound effects but I found I was fighting the controls all the time rather than enjoying the game. And thus, I just did not enjoy my time with Super Dragon Fighter at all. there's just problems with this. I don't know. Just make it into, something like Cauldron or something, if you think about it. Put me on something flying. Or that one we played the other week where I was on a horse, on Pegasus. But this walking along, scrolling, wave shooter, I don't know if that works. Well, it doesn't. Especially when you can't shoot, can't jump forwards. No, this was not for me. I found this frustrating after a while and just turned it off. What about you?
Really odd, isn't it, this? After saying all that, for some reason I found this quite playable.
Oh, God. I knew you would.
I think it's probably because I was just at this point of the year, after all the games we've played...
you've had too much nog, haven't you?
I was just at this point thinking, do you know what? I give in. I give up now. I give up. It had nice, music. The music was good. Playability had me in stitches of walking and jumping. So it was run, walk forward, jump directly upwards, run forward, jump directly upwards. It had me laughing. And those restrictions and I thought, all right, I'm just going to accept that that's the stupidity of this. But it sort of grew on me over time. I don't know why, but it did. It is stupid. And it is a naff side-scrolling game, essentially. It's a side-scrolling shooter, exactly as you say, with really terrible graphics. It looked a bit like one of those play people sort of, the way he rotates when he turns, it made me laugh loads.
Looks like Playmobil.
Yeah, but it just, for reasons I can't explain, it just made me laugh. This game actually made me laugh a lot, belly laughs, more than most of the other games we've played in a while. I think it just wasn't taking itself very seriously in every respect, including how they made it. And it was shonky and rough around the edges. It wasn't very playable in loads of problems. And I think that the fact that they called this Super Anything, it made me laugh a lot. So I think I was probably laughing for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So I'd just given up at this point. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. This is stupid and broken and it doesn't really work. The controls are naff and stupid. I'm playing with an armor-clad play people thing that rotates when he turns and it was just stupid. And there's so much going on the screen and the way you floated. And if you can float and then reappear from the top of the screen and just float around. It's just like, what? At what point did somebody think that an expert version of this was required?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, I'll tell you what, make an expert version and put it out as I'm like, did nobody stop to look at this at any point and go,
no,
actually, we should really fix all those problems with it before we release that? But nobody did.
On our plus label.
And it came out, and there it is, Super Dragon Slayer, 67%. It's just genuinely so weird and broken and idiotic that it just had me laughing at the stupid faults in it. And I thought, you know what, I'll go with that. I'm going to go with the faults. And I did. And even though wasn't even sure really how far I was even getting to any great degree, I just found it just entertaining enough for a very short space of time. So I didn't hate it, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it.
Fair enough. I can see I can see that because it is stupidly stupid.
It's just stupid.
It's just, yeah.
I accepted its stupidity and it kept me, and I laughed. It made me laugh a lot. I haven't laughed at any of these games for a while because they've all been trying to take themselves that serious that, you feel like you're laughing at them. It was painful, but this one, it was just like, I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough. There you go. Super Dragon Slayer. We can't recommend it, but it's funny. I suppose.
It is stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. There we go. Let's move on. We've got 2 left. Graham, how did you get on attempting the NATO Assault Course?
Well, it's a good job I was laughing at the previous one. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, this is utter crap. I mean, we reviewed Combat Skull back in the very first episode of 1988.
Yeah.
Back in episode 72 it was. So it's ironic that it's almost come full circle, isn't it? We're basically looking at a rip-off of Combat Skull, such as it is.
Yeah.
Or 19, maybe. Maybe
we had 19 in the middle of that as well.
So in NATO Assault Course, it's 1 or 2 players, and you compete in an obstacle course as one of 4 characters: the Hitman, the Ninja, the Flame, and Tomo.
Johnny Flame. He's back.
No, it's just yeah, it could be. Who calls themselves that? And why is Tomo? Oh, Tomo!
That's his mate, isn't it? The guy's mate.
This guy's mate, he's come along for the ride. To do this, you must accomplish certain tasks, including jumping over brick walls, crawling through pipes. You have to complete an assault course. The winner is the first one over the finish line, as is the usual rules of this.
Yeah, that's right.
It did include a course designer in this, so you can design your own courses if you could actually ever even want to do that, which you won't. So maybe, but I didn't think you would. Because this is a dreary, waggling, frightening nightmare of epic proportions.
The screen is split into player 1 and player 2, top and bottom. So like Combat School was, and 19. Oh, 19 was just one player. I can't remember if that was 2 player or not. I don't care. At this point, I'll stop thinking about it.
I don't know.
So you got waggle, move, jump, run across the assault course in the fastest time. I had great difficulty getting my player to move correctly in this. So for me, he more fidgeted, shuffled, and jerked across with seemingly no easy way to just move and jump. In fact, he did pretty much everything except move and jump. So at one point, I sort of shuffled forward, laid down on the ground, got up, sort of jumped a bit, then twitched a bit, then started firing a gun randomly in all directions. Then I laid down again, then I was up again. Then he started running a little bit. Then he was like, oh, no, I can't run. Then he jumped, then he crouched. Then he was like, what the hell? It's like, it was erratic at best.
You sound like some kind of super soldier. That's what you sound like.
Whereas the guy, the player 2, the computer player, just raced across the bottom of the assault course, and I wasn't really going to ever stand a chance at that.
No, you weren't.
It's a blatant Combat School rip-off, this, in at least that part of it, because Combat School had more levels, so it's the rip-off of the first level of Combat School.
Yes.
And it's a rip-off of that 19 thing that we hated. We hated the 19 game because of its horrible
system.
assault course. Stupid control system on an assault course. You'd think you'd learn from that, but no, they just replicated all the pain. So it is that, but it doesn't work. It has really annoying squeaky music. I mean, really in that in that pitch that only games of this kind do.
Yep.
And I was like, oh no, awful. Its the graphics are really bitty, badly realized, just sequences of bricks and stuff, really. Ish. It resembles something while you play a mini player on the screen fidgets and shuffles and, just does some kind of weird robotic dance, I guess, as well. I'm not sure what he was doing across to try and get from A to B. I don't know if my controls were broken or the game was broken that I was trying to control, but I could not get him to just run it, no matter how much waggling I did. And it said in the Zapped review that they nearly ruptured their bodies trying to get this guy to do anything. So nothing works of this for me. Nothing. No. Everything here is really naff, and it's been done before a year earlier, and then even in the middle of the year. And Combat School was flawed, but better than this. With much better music. And 19 had that decent 19 bit of music, but the rest of it was pretty crap. I don't get why this exists. I don't get it. But it's CRL, isn't it? So, of course, I know why it exists now, because it's CRL. They went, right, you see that game there? Yeah, do that. So they gave it to some guy who's like, all right, I'll try my hand at doing it. I can't promise it's going to turn out very well. And so they've obviously given him a copy of Combat School and given him a copy of 19. And he's blended the two together into this, which is, 6 and 3/4, whatever you want to call it. It's not very good. No. Combat crap. Crap School. It's not good. Another CRL piece of crap to just about round out the year with is not what I had in mind. Not after the belly laughs of Super Dragon Slayer. I could see, I had a look at the Spectrum version of this, because this is, I think, a Spectrum to C64 thing, I think. If you really want to offend your eyes, go and look at that green monstrosity. It'll anger you in ways that I can't explain. It's like looking at a game that's been completely designed and developed with peas. It's not nice. This game should not have been. That's my final statement on it. What did you think?
Yeah, awful. Dreadful. What is it with these subpar clones of better games that we keep seeing? First 19, then it's offering crap versions of Combat School. As you rightly said, a game we opened the year with. Why did anyone think this was a good idea? Controls are awful, painful waggling with boring up and down climbing and jumping, which is annoying, and then painless and pointless shooting bits. It's just weird. It's really odd. It's really finicky as well, because you've got to waggle, and then you push up to climb stuff or pull down to thingies, but because waggling is by nature a bit all over the place, you'll clip down and then he'll stop and just get on his belly.
Hence the fidget and shuffling.
And then actually climbing up anything, it's just a painful awfulness, falling off stuff. It's all like crap.
So crap.
Yeah, it's demoralising, and the bloody tune grates away in the background. Ugh. It really was a case of any old crap would do at this point. 10 quid. 10 quid. It's robbery. It's robbery.
It is. It's robbery.
It's basically someone's walked up to you, done a jittery dance at you, and aimed a gun in all directions and asked for your money. That's all that can happen with this game. And you've gone giving them £10 to go away.
It's like a naff version of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, it's like being bothered on the street sometime. But here's some money, go away.
So one of them angry tramps that's coming towards you. Angry.
Yeah, that's what this is. It should be Hobo Assault Course. It's just dreadful, wasn't it? Just rubbish.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ on a bike. I was playing it going, what's happened?
Terrible.
What's happened? And there we go.
Yeah. Thanks CRL for that. Thanks a lot, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, CRL didn't they have a decent game last week?
Be careful. for them.
Did. There was something that we thought was actually okay.
It was, yeah. But what we said was it was good for them.
Yeah, it was that. Well, it wasn't great, was it? It was that Battle Island.
Come to Battle Island. Yeah.
My niece bought this holiday from Shackleton's.
Yes, NATO Assault crap. Not good.
Yeah, no, it's not. Let's move on. One game left. Let's do it. Let's get into our last game for the year.
Last one.
And that game is Cheapskate. Pun title. It's a pun title.
It is a pun title.
I'm not offended by it. It's all right. I'm not bothered.
I'll let it go.
It's £2, and this is essentially a skateboarding game that is cheap. Okay, Cheapskate. I kind of approve in some odd way. Maybe like you, by this point, I was just like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I don't care. So this is from Silverbird. It's from Future Designs, who are made up of Daryl Bowers on code, visuals by Pixel Perfect. Imagine being christened that. And concept by Andrew Morris, Ian Bastone, and Daryl Bowers. It took 3 people to concept this. 3 people.
One person's thinking the idea, and the other 2 to. I'm not sure what they were doing.
Put the light bulb up. Plug the Commodore 64 in. I don't know. How did it take 3 people to concept on this? Ridiculous.
Well, one holds the paper, one holds the pen, and the other one holds the wall up.
And it's got music by Dave Whittaker, Mr. 30-second loop. He's back. Yay.
Yeah, with a 20-second loop.
With a 20-second loop, yeah. I could find no instructions or even shots at the back of the cover for this. This is one of those games that is, there's a couple of pictures of the covers, there's a couple of being sold, but I could find nothing on this anywhere. So, I did the best I could here. It seems fairly self-explanatory as these things go, apart from one thing which I didn't quite understand, but we'll get to that. The story, as far as I can make out, is that you want to join the Street Hawks, who are a skateboarding crew from round your way. I don't know where they are, just round your way somewhere. You want to join them. So in order to do this, you must first prove yourself as a novice by completing 5 courses, then must complete a further 5 courses to prove yourself good enough to be a member, and finally another 5 courses in order to prove yourself good enough to be a leader of the Street Hawks. So 15 courses to get through, essentially. There's not much in the way of options on this, but the title screen does have an image of a hawk on a skateboard, which I thought was pretty rad.
Very rad.
As they go. It's like, there's a hawk, well, not an eagle for once, but a hawk, that's quite cool.
Tony Hawks.
And it goes some way to explaining just why you'd want to join that gang. There's hawks on skateboards. Like, wow, okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
So the name is also spelled out in massive letters. It just says Cheapskate taking up half the screen.
It really does.
It's a budget title about skating. I don't know, whatever. Stabbing the fire button gets us into the game. And what we're presented with is an isometric view of a street, scrolling from bottom left to top right with our skater trundling along, decked out in their bright yellow helmet and best blue and black tracksuit. That top, blue and black, reminded me of Gary's top.
Yes. Yes.
It reminded me of that Adidas top he had.
Yeah. It is. It so is. I knew when I saw that stripy top.
He had the black tracksuit bottoms as well, didn't he?
He did.
Was like, this was a game based on Gary. It reminded me of Gary on a skateboard.
He did a skateboard. Yeah, he had those some Adidas, didn't he, with the Adidas 2 stripe. I'm sure where he got them from.
Whatever. Just missing. Well, I mean, although the yellow helmet could have been his afro, so,
God, never say the words Gary and yellow helmet in my presence again.
Oh dear. So this is basically the adventures of Gary's skateboarding. The street and wall are very grey though, and things are not that interesting from a visual standpoint.
So grey.
So grey and so grey. The scrolling though, I'll give it to you. The scrolling's smooth enough though. The scrolling's quite nice. We bemoan so many jerky scrolls. At least this moves quite smoothly. At the bottom of the screen we've got the UI showing the number of lives left. You've got 3 to start with. There's a meter. I don't know what it meant. I think it was your energy, but it just kind of went down a little bit every now and again. I don't know why. I'm not sure what that was. It's got your speed, which is represented by like how there's like a skateboard and how it gets fuller the faster you're going. Basically, it's like a bar going up in it. That's fine. So that's all right. But also underneath that, there's a number which corresponds to your sort of X position on the pavement. I don't know what that was for. Why was that there? Who cares?
No idea.
I can only think that might have been left in due to some sort of debug routine, but kind of got overlooked.
Could easily be.
There's no reason for it to be there.
No.
There's also the countdown timer for the level. You get 5 minutes, but it counts down a bit quicker. But you're never going to run out of time in this game. Never, ever. The level's too short. It's a good thing, I suppose. You got your score for the level and the total score overall. That's it. Controls are fairly simple. Up to speed up, down to slow down, left and right to move across the pavement. If you hold down fire and pull down, you duck. And if you hold down fire and press up, you jump. That's it. Knock yourself out as you go. As you career along, hazards start to appear that must be avoided or else you lose a life. Most things on the pavement need to be steered around. These range from things like Felicia beacons, cones, trash cans, other stuff and bits and bobs as well. They're all stationary, but there are also things that move at you. So you got balls rolling, you fireballs, which are oddly out of place. I don't know who's firing the fireballs at you. Maybe there's some wizard somewhere that we can't see. And even later on, we get other skaters skating towards you. There's general sort of street hazards, apart from fireballs, obviously. There are also lampposts that stretch right across the top of the street. And you must be dead tall or they're dead small. Because if you don't duck, you crash into them. So you got to duck under them. That's it. I found the jump a bit pointless. I don't think I ever needed to jump over anything. There's holes, but if you go into the holes, they just disappear. It's a bit weird. So the jump is a completely superfluous move because you jump. You just jump off the skateboard. You go, hey.
Yep.
You don't
it's probably a fancy skateboarding name for that.
There is probably an ollie. It's an ollie or something. I don't know.
An ollie.
Should you make it to the finish line, then you are told, well done, and it's on to the next one. Same grey street, but this time different coloured windows and doorways. Yeah. That's how you know what level you're on. So that's what you got. And if you make it through all 15 levels, you're awarded a nice message to give the developer a ring on their telephone number if you're either in King's Lynn and buy them a pint.
Okay, fair enough.
It's there. Such innocent times. Imagine putting your telephone number now just out there saying, give us a ring.
Don't think that's such a good idea.
No. Weird, isn't it? I didn't think this was too bad, really. It's well put together. It's got no bugs that I could find. It's simple premise. It is what it is. The Whittaker music, it's short, but it's decent enough. I didn't get annoyed by it. Keeps things chugging along nicely. The controls are fine, responsive. The game's a bit of fun. It gets a bit samey after a while because there's nothing else to this. It's just 15 grey levels. And I think some visual variety would have been good to see because the pavement's just floating in a black void. It's like some existential skateboarding nightmare. Doesn't really stir the imagination too much. There could have been some stages with different backdrops, parks, gardens, houses, bit of colour, anything to mix things up a bit at time. As it, just like, but also as well, it felt sometimes like I was skating along the top of a castle because there's like crenellations as well. It's all very odd. Anyway, I didn't mind it. It works. It functions as intended. It just likes any kind of real draw to keep you playing. At 64% for £2 for something that would be a bit of a laugh for an afternoon. Yeah, I've got no complaints about this. It was fine. It didn't offend in the way some other games have had, and I found this perfectly okay. What about you?
It was fast paced, I guess. I mean, it's just, it is just like a Super Zaxxon type deal without the Super Zaxxon spaceship in it, really. It's that corridor bit.
That's a good call, yeah.
But it's just dull. I mean, the biggest thing about this game, the biggest pain with it is it's just dull.
Yeah.
It's dull to look at. It's dull to play. It's just dull. But it is only £2. I mean, the scrolling, like you say, good, fast. Production's actually pretty slick. It runs a decent old clip. Everything works as it should. It's pretty challenging, I suppose. The controls, once you get used to it, they're kind of logical. They're where they should be. There's no weird down for up and up for down, all that nonsense with this. It's just, It is what it is. It's just, like the music is a 20-second loop. So is your attention span on this.
Yeah.
And because all the levels just look the same. And just as soon as I got to level 2, I was like, oh no, I'm back in dreary grey skateboard land. It just feels like punishment. You're like, oh no. And then I thought maybe they'll change it because some of these games have got the same levels, but they've done red in colour or they've gone blue, or not this one.
No.
All grey all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, it's so bleak. It's like being stuck in some metallic maze, endlessly tough. And the skateboard sprite was okay with his, it was like a mini Gary, one little dude. He was all right.
Yeah.
It's a guy on a skateboard just skating through endless grey corridors and avoiding obstacles. I don't know if that's a metaphor for modern life. I don't know what that is. It was just a bit boring, but it's £2 worth of an hour's worth of entertainment. So you'd get your hour's worth of entertainment out of it. 64% is about right. I didn't find the music in it that good, but it's Dave Whittaker's got this knack of making music that is neither memorable. I don't know how it does it, but it just erases your memory of it as soon as you've heard it.
Yeah.
So it's self-erasing music, which is pretty clever, generally speaking.
Considering the amount of times you hear that loop as well, you'd think it would drill in, but you can't. I couldn't. I think the only one I could ever home of is BMX Simulator.
I'm hoping he's not putting in secret messages in there. I mean, I remember the music for
late.
Night Games that he did being pretty good, stuff like that. But this one, I couldn't. And if you said to me, hum cheapskate music, I'd be like, And now, considering I was listening to it for ages on repeat, you'd think I'd remember something of it.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's quite the talent.
But exactly. It is a talent. Yeah, it's memoryless music.
Yeah,
I've got 20 of his albums here. I remember listening to him or buying them. The guy's a multi-millionaire many times over because he just, that's how he works. That's how he rolls.
I keep buying the same album because I forgot I had it.
And I forgot to listen to it.
I've got 30 copies of the same damn thing. I'm like, I already bought this.
Yes, exactly. But luckily the album's only 3.5 minutes long with 17 tracks.
But I completely forgot to listen to it. But I'm thinking, I went out and bought it again. Yay, 31.
He's released a 70 album best of, 70 CD best of.
70 album best of.
Yeah. Comes in a massive box set, but it just takes that long to listen to. It actually takes 6.8 minutes to listen to them all. But anyway, all jokes aside, it is what this is. It is a cheapskate. That's all it was.
Yeah, exactly. I can't complain at it. It's been better than some other stuff we've played, but there you go. Anyway, there you go. That's it. That is it. That is 1988 done. That's December 1988 done. We've done, what games did we look at this week? We looked at Fifth Gear, which could have been good. Could have
been a contender.
The ingredients are all there, but the screen position is not all there. Wrong place. Wrong place. You would think, you'd just think, you'd look at Spy Hunter, wouldn't you? There's a reason why Spy Hunter puts you down towards the bottom.
Bottom of the screen.
And scrolls to any shooter doesn't put you on the right next to the scroll. Yeah, it just don't do it. There's a reason for that. Around the World in 80 Days, which is a confusion. Around the World in 80 Bribes, maybe that was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't nice to see it nice. No, it wasn't. No. Joe Blade 2.
Yeah, Joe Blade Poo.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going for the low. I'm going for the low hanging fruit here today.
You might as well. Savage.
A bit of Ravage.
Super Dragon Slayer, which was
weird
unusual,
and
stupid. Nato Assault Course, which was just crap. Just no Assault Course.
Yes, that was the bog blocking turd, wasn't it? At the end of the year, that one.
That really was, and we flushed it away with a bit of a cheapskate brush. Which whatever.
What a way to end the year!
I know, with a blocked toilet. There we go. That's it. That's the year done. I've got no crap verts this week, I am afraid. We've got a chart, though. Our final chart for the year. Should we have a final chart for the year?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a countdown from number 10. This is from Commodore User. In at number 10 is Pro Skateboard Simulator.
Okay.
In at number 10. Down to number 9 is Tracksuit Manager. Down to number 8 is Football Manager.
Right.
In at number 7 is Pro Ski Simulator.
Oh, dear.
In at number 6 is something ccalled Emo Zone. I didn't know emos existed back then. This is by Alternative. What the hell's this?
I don't know. Is that Emo from Sesame Street, maybe? That's Elmo.
That's Elmo. Oh, Emo Zone. Oh, God, no one understands me.
That sounds like a very dull game.
Very dull, yeah. Down to number 5 is Bomb Jack. Down to number 4 is Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge. In at number 3 is Joe Blade 2.
That won't be there for long.
Staying at number 2 is Barbarian. And that's the Palace one. And a new entry at number 1 for Christmas 1988 is The Last Ninja 2 Vengeance, whatever it was.
Yeah,
back in
Vengeance,
time, back for Vengeance, whatever it was. Other entries at number 11 is Gauntlet. Number 12, International Rugby Simulator.
Oh, my Lord, no.
I have a feeling that's Mr. Handley, Carlton Handley, but I can't be sure. I think we're going to get some of his games soon.
Okay.
APB and things like that. I think he seems to remember he did a rugby game as his first game and it was awful, he said. 13 is Supreme Challenge. Bo Jolly. Okay. That's going to be a compilation in it.
Yeah,
probably.
I thought so.
14 is Gold, Silver and Bronze. That's another US Gold compilation.
Yeah, that's the sports one, isn't it?
Yeah, down to 15 is Hawkeye. In at number 16 is Ace of Aces. That's on budget on the Kicks label. That's a good budget title to buy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Ace of Aces. In at number 17 is Red Storm Rising. Quite high for something like that. In at number 18 is 1943. Ugh.
That's even higher for something like that.
Yeah. Down to number 19 is Battleships from Encore. And down to number 20 is School Days. So that's it. Yeah, I think I was going to give a sort of preview of next year, but I'm not going to because, no, we can do that next time. That's it. We're done. We're done 1988.
We have.
That was a lot of...
year done.
How many episodes was that? What were we on? 109. Then we started on 72.
We did, yeah.
38. I think it's inclusive. 38 episodes.
Yeah. Yep.
Bloody hell. 38 episodes to get through a year.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Yeah, because still 38 takes us to, 38, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Christ.
Yeah.
Should we save our thoughts on 1988 for next week when we do our Bread Bin Awards?
Yeah, I think we'll save them. I mean, it's just, the only thing I'll note is that I've noticed it comes quite a bit full circle in a weird way, because we said that Combat School was out for our first episode of January 88, and weirdly, Trantor was in the second episode of January. So,
it was, yes. Weird? Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, and two similar games. Yeah, obviously, ripped off.
Then
not ripped off.
As I was scrolling through our giant list of games, I had to chuckle up because Osmium stuck out. It made me laugh. Osmium. Osmium was there. Anyway, that's enough said about that.
Second class return to Osmium.
Osmium. It jumped out at me when Osmium.
Was that this year, Osmium?
Yeah, it was 1980. It was in March 88.
It seems so long ago. I can't remember half these games. I was looking at them going, God. It was
the same episode where we did Garfield, if that brings any horrific memories back.
I do have the list of games. Let me just have a quick look. So I can tell you that there was, for this year, there was a grand total of 305 games.
Wow. That is crazy that we played that many games.
Yeah, that's how many there was.
And there's a total of 300 good ones.
Good?
No, 300 bad ones.
Yeah.
No, it's the wishful thinking that there'd be 300 good ones, but no.
Yeah, so we'll put that. Yeah, we'll have that. So we've got, like So said, so we'll have our awards next. Who knows what God, Lee Enfield wasn't the lowest scorer, but we'll come to all that next week.
Next time we've got
next
all
week
that to look forward to.
So that'll be fun. Then I think we've got a little bit of a break and a week off, and then so we've got to start 1989. Well, it'll be later, but we'll talk about that next week. I feel tired and drained after all these games.
Yes, it's been a hell of a long week, and that's been a particularly dreary December, so glad to see the back of it, quite honestly.
Yeah, and take a bit of a step back and look at some of them, and hopefully remember some of the decent games we got in 1988.
Yes, of which there were some.
There were some. Yeah. So we've got that next week. I think we'll call it a day there. I mean, we've done 4 episodes. We've got the Bread Bin Awards next week. You got anything more you want to add? Or
no, I'll save my reminiscing of 1988 for the Bread Bin Awards, which I'm greatly looking forward to and also dreading at the same time.
Yeah, trying to sort out what's going to be good. I'm not sure what awards to have. Maybe see what's the same as last year, but who knows? Right, so we're going to leave you. So on that note, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to the last part of 1988, covered by us here at Zapped to the Past. And we will see you again for the Bread Bin Awards next week.
There we go.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.